Happy Saturday, everybody, and welcome to Special Rogue Entertainment at 2 in the afternoon. Thank you guys for being here so much. Thank you for not laughing at Culture's hat, and we appreciate you being here. So with us is Andre is going to be here in a little bit. He's out seeing GhostBusters Afterlife, and so is Mackany from what I saw in the chat. Thanks, Mac, for coming by and saying hi. And we're going to be covering Ghostbusters later, so that works out. And with us right now is Tom Connors of Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark. What's up, Tom?
Where that bald bastard owes me money.
Yeah, he's an awful guy. How you been, man? How's everything going with you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there, doing the best I can.
Yeah, that's what we're all doing. That's exactly it. With us also is my panel, Vinny Art. What's up, Vinny?
Hey, brother. Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Actually, I actually took a couple of days off for Thanksgiving, which is like a first for me.
You took a couple of days off. What means you weren't drawing or working on anything?
Nope.
Wow.
It felt good for a little bit, and now I feel guilty as shit, and I'm doubling down on what I got to do.
You should, because you're such a hard worker. You never stop.
No, it's rare that I do. But yeah, dude, I'm on the last couple of pages of the book, so. Yeah, I'm doing my pencils and inks for Shot of the Kraken. As soon as these are done, then I could finish painting up the last few pages. And yeah, it looks like it'll be first quarter. So I'm looking forward to getting this book out. But, yeah, let's have some rants about a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, let's definitely do that. Well, we're going to talk about a couple of things we like today, so it's a little bit different.
Oh yeah, that too, of course.
Yeah. Let's see, and Andre, fresh from Ghostbusters Afterlife. How you doing, man? Thank you for coming.
That is correct. Yeah, well, thanks for having me. And sorry I'm a few minutes late, but hey, that's traffic for you.
Yeah, that's what it is. I was picking my son up from the airport and realized that you're not going to do it quickly on Friday night. Out of
No, exactly.
Exactly. Not happening. So what did you think of the movie?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like it only goes to show what a complete and total disaster the 2016 movie was now when you can compare it with the real deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna cover Ghostbusters later on, and everybody that's seen it can give their opinion. And Culture's gonna cover the box office numbers on that.
Should be exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a classy flick.
Classy. I mean, it was a good flick. It was family oriented, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So with us also is Culture Casino. What's up, Culture?
Hey everybody. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited to be here, of course, and looking forward to the insights of the great panel and at least one promotion we're going to talk about along the way. So I'm pretty stoked.
Awesome. Also with us is Miriam, who's actually able to be here. She's over in Europe and usually can't make these shows, so it's good to see you, sweetie.
Yep, living in frozen land in the middle of nowhere. It's just, the thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can make it.
This time is more Europe friendly, isn't it?
Definitely. I like the normal Rogue entertainment, it starts somewhere at around my midnight, and I'm sitting here like just a little bit, yeah.
So I'm glad that you could be here, sweetie. With us also is Red Gaze.
What's up? How's it going? I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Stuffed yourself because you deserve it. I'm glad to hear Vinny finally took a break. This man needs a break.
Yeah, I didn't get any turkey. I was working. I had the opportunity to work, and that's what I did.
You're such a hand.
You need a break, or you will break down.
No, I need money.
Did you at least get a gas station hot dog or something?
Yes, I did. Actually, that's exactly what I got, Gaze. Thank you for calling that out. That's how pathetic it was. Thank you.
Walton, what you need? You know what you need? This.
Yeah, no, not at all. With us is also Tommy Gang Big Collective. What's up, Tom?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I see all the toes that are already coming through in the chat. What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Remember, without you, these shows are absolutely no fun, and we'd be actually just sitting here talking to a wall and pretty much to ourselves. I think that would get kind of boring really quick because, Stephen just can't stop going on and on about enemas and trees, and, that conversation can only sustain itself.
That's how we're going.
For an indefinite amount of time.
That's where we're going. That's where we're going. Well, I mean,
straight down the Hershey Highway.
Yeah, since we started with that, according to Christy, is in the chat earlier. What's up, Christy? Good to see you. And I'd like to remind everybody that
the Rogue Daddy, Stephen Welton.
The Rogue Daddy. If you need any more proof after the stream that true evil does not die, according to Christy, is in the chat. Thank you guys.
Good to see you, Christy. Love you, honey. Keely Chow's in the chat. Hail, Keely. Good to see you. Parrothead is with us. How you doing, Parrothead? Thank you so much for coming. Tina's with us. Tina, thank you so much. Channel member. Looks out for all of our channels over here in Rogue. We really appreciate you. There's Mackany. Hail to Mackany. Please subscribe to Mackany Draws. Heading out to see Ghostbusters Afterlife right now. Free Speech Gaming is here. What's up, Free Speech? Chaos Hoy, good to see you. Sherry's with us. Nice to see you, Sherry. CJH, longtime supporter of the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Wookiee Supremacy is with us. Hail to you, brother. Good to see you. Ashley Lynn's in the chat. What's up, Ashley? Thank you for coming through. Let's see. And Matt, Mad the Magnificent here. What's up, Mad? How are you? Good to see you, brother. Please, guys, go subscribe to his channel. He's very entertaining. Oh God, what? Who's talking trash? Go ahead. Don't stop. No, don't stop.
No, that's what he does every time somebody is mentioned on the panel. He's like, who? So every time I see him, who?
Phil TMNT is here. What's up, Phil? Good to see you, brother. Rogue Disney's with us. What's up, dude? Ralph Hurt. Oh, damn. B Huckle? Chuck?
I'm sorry to hear that, Ralph.
What's up, Chuck? Good to see you. That's my boy Chuck. I've known him for about 7 years. It's the first time I've seen him come through, man.
So somebody has actually witnessed what you do to trees, huh?
This man's an EMT. He is out there every day. He really loves his job. And thank you for all the support service that you put out there, man. Appreciate you. Joachim, I'm always afraid I'm gonna say this wrong. Andre, how do I say?
You say everything wrong. It's okay.
I think it's Joachim.
Yeah, Joachim Stark.
Thank you, Joachim Stark. Thank you for being here, and thank Andre for being able to help me pronounce that. The Cam is with us. What's up, Cam? Good to see you, and everybody else that's showing up in a little bit. So, for the first thing we're going to talk about is going to be presented by Tommy and Vinny Art, who do a show every Thursday called Collectable Past. And we're going to have a discussion about He-Man with a comparison to what we're getting now in Revelations. So, Tommy, go ahead and take it away, brother.
Okay, so, I mean, we want to talk about He-Man. We want to talk about Masters of the Universe. I mean, when that franchise first started off, it started off in 1981 when Mattel actually made figures. Even though they made them in 1981, they actually didn't put them out for the consumers until 1982. Now, I know there's a bit of discrepancy, and some people said the toy line was released in 1981. It was not. This was something that a lot of toy companies did. They stamped it the year that they produced it, even if they didn't release it in that year. So it was actually released in 82, and of course, every subsequent line came out year after year after that. And by 83, they had already reached out to Filmation, and they wanted to do an animation, because this was the big thing with a lot of franchises at this point. And it actually started with G.I. Joe and their triple branding that they did. So what they did is they found a way, because Ronald Reagan actually released a lot of the restrictions that toy companies had, because in the original toy commercials, or if you were doing any kind of like animated thing, whether it was very short, it had to be under 10 seconds if it was animated and it was promoting the toy line. Ronald Reagan lifted those restrictions and said that they could make cartoons as long as they had a story, even if they were technically still promoting the toys, as long as they had an independent story that they could wind up making cartoons. Hasbro took up on that extremely heavily. They put out a comic, they put out a cartoon, regular advertising, and there's the triple prong attack that they used to great success to be able to boost or relaunched G.I. Joe line in 1982. And every other company after that started doing the same thing, and Masters of the Universe by Mattel is no different. They reached out to Filmation. They put out this wonderful show. Now, one thing that is to be noted, a lot of the things that they took from the show, they did take from the mini comics that came with the original toys. Some of those original stories actually made it into the Filmation, and then later on, vice versa, the Filmation wound up in the mini comics. Few things were changed, of course. He-Man's original origin is just being a barbarian from a tribe. That was changed to being Prince Adam, who lifted up a sword. The sorceress, her part of her original backstory was changed ever so slightly, and that includes Teela. Because originally in the mini comics, Teela was actually a clone created by Skeletor of the sorceress. And of course, when you get to the Filmation adaptation, they wind up turning her into the daughter of the They turned her into the daughter of the sorceress in the cartoon. But the one thing that they do have in common, both the original mini comic and the cartoon, is that Man of Arms wound up being the foster parent for Teela. And eventually, in the comics, they lead you to believe that eventually Teela will wind up taking over as the Guardian. This is her power. This is why she's listed as the goddess warrior in the original run of the toys. So you fast forward, and of course, you wound up getting the reboot, and I think it was like 2002, which they paid a lot of respect to that early version of He-Man, and I think it was done pretty well. And they actually delved into the backstories of a lot of these characters you didn't even think about at the time. When they delved into the background of Skeletor, and he was revealed to be this guy called Keldor, and how he was changed. Yeah. There was a lot of interesting stuff that they did in that. And then,
well, that series was actually put together. And thanks to the artists who left McFarlane, because they had the option of what they were going to work on and where they were going to be located, and they said they wanted He-Man. It was two of the guys working there. It were four of them all together. They were known as the Four Horsemen. That was a company too, because afterwards they started doing other stuff with Mattel as well. But they were responsible for having that first reboot.
Well, you know what though, you do have to give credit to that third-party company that started making those Masters of the Universe toys, because if they didn't go into trying to reproduce the older line but with more modern take and articulation, Hasbro might not have picked up on that and decided, hey, let's do a whole new line. I mean, it was thanks to a third-party company that basically the Masters of the Universe wound up getting new life. Because I'm sure all of us remember that really terrible version where it was He-Man in space. Like, that was in and out the door very quickly. It was such garbage.
New Adventures of He-Man.
It was so bad.
Andre loves that shit.
Well, I hate the designs, but here's like the thing: the writing ain't half bad, and that series deserves credit for one thing. It was one of actually the first instance of serialized storytelling, where the whole one season is actually one giant arc, with mini arcs along the way, but still it's like one consecutive story. And it would have continued that in later seasons as well, with a return to Eternia to the present day, if it had continued. Alas, the designs and the animation was so utter rubbish that it was like dead the moment it premiered.
Yeah, it was pretty horrible. Have you ever read any of the mini comics that were actually associated with the Space He-Man?
I tried, but I was never able to finish them, even though they're that short.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think that they were horrible, because I actually got a collection of all the mini comics that came with all the Masters line, including the She-Ra line and the 2002, which I think they only printed two comics. One was never released.
Well, and they
only released one.
They botched the toys, as far as I was concerned. On top of the series got buried on the Family Channel in the U.S.
Well, basically, they botched everything about it. You even had like the main showrunner on the original Mattel Masters of the Universe line warned Mattel at the time that this line here is going to flop. It does everything wrong, which of course is exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm. And why didn't they take that advice and just cancel the line?
Well, they did try to reinvigorate it. Because what happened was when they started doing the space version of He-Man, the new He-Man, it was all smaller, almost in the same size, the 3 3/4 inch almost. Same size as G.I. Joe, so it was totally not in line with the rest of the figures.
I thought those figures were just like in between that. Tom.
Like in between, they were a little bit
like a 4 inch.
They're not quite. Yeah, they're not quite 3 3/4 inch. They're like 4 and maybe a little bit more than 4, but like they were closer to G.I. Joe size, and they were that articulated. Which that part I didn't have a problem with, but they didn't match the other Motu figures. And then when they got to the end of that line, they tried to go back to the bigger style, and by that point, the series was done, and Ninja Turtles had taken over, and nobody gave a shit anymore.
Well, I think another thing that they actually flopped on is the fact is the original He-Man figures were extremely. They had a lot of detail in it, and those newer ones did not have the detailing. They looked almost like the LGN wrestling figures. You had the detail that they put into them, quite honestly.
Well, they had some interesting ideas, but again, they didn't match the rest of the line. So you had that problem. And then, then they tried, in between there, they tried bouncing off the movie, and that didn't work out for them either. So
yeah. I mean, what did you guys think of the movie, the original?
The original, I hated it.
Really?
hated it.
I mean,
As
I'm sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, as a sword and sorcery movie, it's fine. I like it a lot, but as a He-Man movie, it fails on every level.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I couldn't stand it.
Dolph Lundgren's not your He-Man.
Sans one thing. I'm sorry. That is Skeletor. Frank Langella as Skeletor fucking nailed it.
Yeah,
I think so
outside
too.
of that,
the makeup on him was fantastic too. But it was funny too because he was super pissed because he said he worked out like crazy and then they gave him that big suit. He's like, what the fuck? He's like, I want to show off my physique too.
Yeah, he was in absolute astonishing shape too. It's just a shame. And and as far as Dolph Lundgren, Steven, I think Dolph Lundgren could have played that part if he was actually given that part. They gave him something that really wasn't He-Man.
Yeah.
It was basically tame Conan,
Yeah, it was not good.
Yeah, like PG Conan. Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I mean.
And and as for me, I only saw that movie much later. I wasn't aware of its existence at the time when it came out. I only discovered it on VHS by chance in the early 90s, and I was so hyped, and I rented it and couldn't wait to see it. And it's one of the most disappointing movie experiences of my entire life.
Wow. Well, the fact that you wound up finding that later on, Andre, I would just like to offer my condolences.
Right? I was going to say.
I will agree with the Tom, though, that Skeletor is awesome. And it also, Evelyn is fantastic.
The casting.
Those are brilliant.
Yeah, the casting was spot on, right?
No, Evelyn and Skeletor.
Well, I like
and he really looked
Man at Arms. Played Man at Arms was really good too.
Yeah, he was okay.
And I mean, Tila was serviceable. She was fine.
Yeah, she was also there.
And all the bad guys were fine. And I didn't mind Billy Barty as Gwildor, but again, you got the problem of where's Orko, right? Like, that's the problem there. I mean, Billy Barty, he's a great actor, and Gwildor, I don't mind as a character, but I can understand people being like,
well, I did because he stood between me and Orko.
I get that.
Well, they really couldn't use Orko because Filmation actually held all the rights to Orko because the Scheimer was the one that actually created that character, and it was basically a parody of himself that he put into.
Well, they knew they could never do it anyway.
Actually, that's the bigger thing because in order to actually make the toy, Filmation had to sign over the character rights, which they did. So they could have put Orko in the movie if it had been technologically feasible to do it, but it wasn't, so they didn't.
Absolutely. I think they tried to make that film. They tried to make it something it wasn't, an action film.
Yeah. And then the budget too, and the technology wasn't there, so that's why they put it mostly on Earth.
I was going to say,
continue that. Like they also could have used Molar, Attorney, and Dentist if they wanted to, because in order to make the toy for the Classics line, it was Robot Chicken, and Comedy Central had to sign over their stake in it to Mattel, so that they could do the toy. So in principle, he could appear in film.
Well, that movie was like pulling teeth.
At that time, he didn't exist, but didn't they pop him in a cameo in the new show?
I would not be surprised.
I thought he was. I thought he had a cameo, but I could be wrong.
So Comic Fusion is asking Andre, is it still one of Andre's worst movie experiences in a post-Disney Star Wars world? That's my question.
Real quick, I want to say something for the mods in the chat. When you see those bots like that, do not only just get rid of them off the channel, make sure you report their asses too, so they don't get to come back. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. I appreciate that. I'm sorry, Andre, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. No, it was the single most disappointing movie of my life at that time in 1993. There's been quite a few big disappointments. Now, I can't say that anything from Disney Star Wars has disappointed me as much for the simple reason that He-Man in many ways is my Star Wars, whereas Star Wars is not. So I don't have that affection to it. But if I had the option between which movie do I want to spend 2 hours watching right now, Masters of the Universe from '87 or pretty much any of the Disney Star Wars movies, I'm going to go with Masters of the Universe '87 any day.
All right. Thank you. There you go, Comic.
So one of the things I wanted to finish up when we're talking about this He-Man before we get into the new stuff, which I refuse to watch it because I think it's just trash. But with the season, the series actually took a little bit of a lull for quite a long time, and then like in 2018 or 2019 is when they decided to start releasing the retro line, which is titled Origins. They took it back to what the original toys were and what people wanted to see, and they started flying off the shelves. I will note that one thing that they did do differently is in the original run of He-Man and just the Masters of the Universe, because He-Man and Master Universe is obviously the cartoon, which made it famous. But in the original Masters line, they did not produce enough He-Man and Skeletors. This time around with the Retro Origins line, they wound up overproducing the He-Man and Skeletor, so that was pretty much all you would find when you went out to the damn toy stores to look for these things. But they were done right. They were done just like the original toys. They looked so much like them with a lot of articulation. I think they screwed up on some of the faces, especially the early He-Man. Mm-hmm. And even though they made changes to Skeletor and some of the other ones, I think they looked close enough. And it was doing really well. And then all of a sudden you get this terrible
there it is,
freaking Revelations garbage. And you know what, I looked at the figures. I don't even like the way the figures look. I am not a fan of these remade looks for all these characters myself. I mean, I don't know what Andre and Tom think about them. I couldn't stand them. Like even the Battle Cat figure, I think it looked better in the retro line than it did in this Revelations line.
I agree with you on the toy aspect. As far as the show goes, that's the travesty of the show, is that it looks amazing, and I have almost no problem with the designs other than the redesigns. Like when they were staying true to the original designs, the show was everything I always wanted a Masters of the Universe show to be,
right,
as far as the look. Now again, that was before we got Tila on steroids and so on and so forth.
Lynn. Oh my God. That's when the issues came. It's like when they did their redesigns to power up the characters that they wanted to power up. That's when you really got on shaky ground there. Up until that point, it was all good design-wise.
Outside of Orko, for some reason, the redesign of Orko was weird.
Yeah, that sucked.
Well, I was enjoying
Wire's arms exposed. Like, it's so bizarre.
I was enjoying the show up until a certain point, because I did like the animation.
Oh, you mean like 15 minutes in?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, that's about it.
That's about all we get, right?
I did 4 hours on that first part. I did a live stream where we broke it down, and we didn't hit the SJW bullshit first. We went through it as writers and creators of why it was bad and everything that they did to these characters that they shit all over. Then we just sprinkle in the other crap, those designs, the man designs, the attitude of all these stupid characters, how they changed pretty much everyone or just destroyed them. And the funny thing too, everyone keeps thinking that Kevin Smith, he was the showrunner. No, he wasn't. He was brought in after the fact because they needed somebody for PR stuff. And he has a platform where he's got a big channel. He could fight with people as well. And he's going to have a simp army. And that's what they were hoping for controversy. Because that's what happened. He lied to people. He was caught on it because he had no involvement. So when they broke it up, because it was never supposed to be broken up either, they decided to put some of his shitty writing in. And I think that's the reason why they broke it up as well. And you could clearly see it. Because part 2, they were disgusting jokes. There were disgusting moments that happened that should not be in a cartoon. You have Fisto having a joke about fisting Skeletor.
Yeah, well, basically it became Clerks and the Masters of the Universe.
Well, there was a lot of that stuff in the first half too, and he wrote a couple of the episodes in the first half as well.
They gave him some dialogue moments, is what they did.
I can imagine.
He was brought in after the fact.
It really took me out of the moment when Skeletor said, "Oh my God." Like what?
Right?
What?
Actually, I think that could have been really, really good, actually, if you had someone who would have been a better fit than Mark Hamill. I mean, when he was first brought in, I thought, oh my God, I can't believe they got him. But after listening, he was actually one of the biggest problems because it's very difficult to hear anything other than the Joker. And he certainly did not in any way, shape, or form emote Skeletor. And then he had like these somewhat funnier lines, right? And even some like lines straight from the vintage Skeletor, like your royal boob and stuff like that.
He says
and with
bumbling
Mark
boob
Hamill's
like 5
delivery,
times.
they just don't work.
He says bumbling boob like 5 times.
Exactly.
And what's the shit where he keeps calling her Lenny, like she's Harley. He's never.
You don't know. Me and Lenny go back a long ways, and we just hang out. We talk about He-Man all day and his wonderful muscles. I like to touch them.
And that was like the big issue, like that they subverted Evil Lynn's and Skeletor's relationship into that of the Jokers and Harley Quinns, and nothing could be further from reality than that.
Exactly, and it's a complete destruction of these characters, top to bottom. It's out of character, the lines that they gave him, and you could tell when he improvs as well. It just didn't fit. It didn't make sense.
Yeah, and
well, you know what? I real quick, Tom. I wanted to ask both you and Andre this because this is one of the things that I actually thought about a long time when I just seen the previews. Because I still refuse to watch that show. I know a lot of people say, "Well, you can't judge how bad it is till you see it." You know, I seen the trailers and I read what Kevin Smith had to say about what Netflix said, and that was more than enough for me. I knew to steer clear of it. It's kind of like the Rise of Skywalker and the Last Jedi. I steered clear of them too. But I really think the one thing that they did right is with the animators, they took a lot of cues from that 2002 reboot of the franchise because I see a lot of the same characteristics in the drawings that they did for 2002 in the Revelation one. Would you agree with that?
Actually, no. As far as visually, I think they're trying to get as close as they can to Filmation without treading on its grounds, but also adding in more of a bit more of a modern style because the 2000 series was more anime based, like very muted, very dark. This is very bright, like the Filmation series. I mean, as far as like outside of that, no, not really at all. Because like what I was just about to say is like even the tone of the show, like the character Evil Lynn, they totally misunderstand who she is and what she's all about. Like just editing the recent video we dropped where Lorena Creole, who had never seen the 2000 series, was reacting to it. I mean, you get a few scenes right there where it's like, that's Evil Lynn, right? Like she and Skeletor are almost on like an even plane, right? Like she has no problem giving him shit and he'll take it because he's not quite sure how powerful she is. And that's one person that he won't toil with, right? Like he has no problems kicking around any of his other minions, but Lynn is not somebody he will, and that's where the new series really kind of, as far as the character wise, really got it wrong. But as far as the design, I see more of them trying to do a 25% different Filmation.
Well, I mean, the only reason I say that is because a lot of the way the sculpts of the way their body builds were modeled, it reminded me a lot of the 2000s.
Maybe the redesigns,
The toys, I agree completely with the toys. If you compare the toys of the 2000X series and the toys of the Revelation series, in those toys, there is a definite similarity. There's a similarity in the stance, how they're all a little bit hunched. There's a similarity in like the fur loincloths. So there are absolutely similarities in the toy designs, but I don't see any similarities in the full animated series itself.
I got to see those figures in person before they were released. I saw the 2-ups, the originals, because I was invited into their studio. And it was a surprise because nobody knew that they were going to be working on He-Man. So when I saw them, my jaw hit the floor. I loved every single design except for He-Man and the sword. They ruined the sword. But at that point, they were way too far into it. They weren't going to listen to anyone. So I'm like, yeah, it looks good. Like, what are you going to say? But those other figures were stunning. And the plan was where they hoped it was going to do that well that they were going to re-release at least He-Man and Skeletor at that larger size and put extra joints and articulation. And I wish that had happened because those things were jaw-dropping. when they shrunk them down, they did all the manufacturing stuff in China. They did lose a lot. They lost a lot of detail. The paint applications were not the same. But I prefer those designs anyway. I thought they looked incredible, at least for the villains. If you
I
guys seen
agree.
them.
Like He-Man's a bit over designed. I think Andre and I have agreed on that before.
Yeah.
And a few of the other characters, but yeah, like they nailed Skeletor.
Oh yeah.
Trapjaw,
Yeah.
Beastman. They were.
Yeah, they really nailed the villains.
Evelyn,
Evelyn's
yeah.
redesign was really good.
I actually
Same with
like
the
Sheila's,
Sorceress
yeah.
redesign was really
Yeah.
most of the redesigns. Yeah, some of them were a little bit over designed, but none actually got it worse than He-Man himself. He was
Yeah.
like the over designed one.
Yep, and they couldn't land on a proper head sculpt. They had like 3 or 4 different head sculpts for him.
I think that was part of the problem, and they did the same thing when they just when they released the Retro Origins line, is they didn't know, did they want to go with the original toy design? Did they want to go with the comic design, or did they want to go with the cartoon design? And if they wanted to go with the cartoon design, which one? And I think that was part of the problem. Now, I mean, later on, they did kind of correct that in the Retro Origins line when they came out with the battle damaged He-Man.
Yeah,
is they actually gave a second head that looked more like the original toy, which I appreciated that when they did that.
They did the same thing for Skeletor, yeah. And then the one I'm showing you is actually the Keldor figure, and I actually like that sculpt of Skeletor's head much better. I know I can't really focus in on it, but the detail on that one in comparison to the other ones is amazing.
Yeah, man, I agree. It's crazy, but I'm happy that they were able to do that anyway. That they were responsible for getting those off the ground.
Well, you know, the one thing that worries me, though, when we're talking about all this stuff, I'm worried that Revelations is going to wind up taking away a lot of that thunder that the Origins line was starting to build up by re-releasing those figures.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be releasing any more of those other ones, but I know the property's dead now, and they said it. They've been wanting to fucking kill it. And when they released that other Netflix one in between part 1 and part 2, it's because the lashback was that horrible. That one that was in between, they did their whole redesign, reboot, all CGI crap. That was supposed to be their last kind of Hail Mary play for the franchise.
Well, what do you know? Do you know anything, Benny, about the right reversion that's supposed to go on in a couple of years? Anything about that?
Not that I'm aware of. The last I heard was this was kind of the last big shot for He-Man. I don't think anyone wants to touch the property anymore. It depends how bad this part 2 really does. If it's really, really shit, no one's going to want to touch this.
Well, we've been trying to figure out the exacts, but like going back into the 90s, evidently there was some really dumb deal made that Mattel ended up selling the entertainment rights to Universal.
Yeah, because they were considered dead at the time. Like, we're not going to do this. And this way, the executives at the time got a big fat Christmas bonus.
And that's why She-Ra has already converted. So that's why He-Man and She-Ra cannot meet.
Really?
And they can't be in the same. Yeah. They can't
They can't. That's all done with now. Even at the time of the 2000 series, He-Man and She-Ra were completely legally separate entities, just like Conan and Red Sonja.
Yeah.
But we've been hearing now in the next couple years, all the rights are going to revert to Universal. So I have no idea how true that is or not, but it actually has to go through this long chain of buyouts. And anybody who's watched, what is it, the guy who covers the
Spectre Creative.
Well, there's him, but there's another guy. But anyway, there's these long chains of it was first bought by Hallmark, and then some other entertainment company, and some other entertainment company, and then Universal bought it out. So it's this chain of rights that happened, and I guess in 2 years' time, basically, is when the rights are supposed to revert back. And that's why I think it's interesting that you said that, Vinny, that they're trying to kill the brand, because we keep running into a brick wall with this.
This is the most difficult thing to research we've ever tried, and we've tried researching quite a few bits, but nothing quite as resistant as this. And we haven't been able to find a solid answer, but there's definitely something going on.
I heard from a specific writing group from a couple of big names, including ones who worked on the original series, and they said that this was kind of the end for He-Man. This is before Revelations, right before Revelations came out, and the scripts were leaked. and some of the main guys read them and were furious, absolutely furious. I'm not going to say the names on here, but
right.
Yeah, they were very fucking pissed of what happened. Because again, why didn't they get these guys to come back and write it? Because that's not what they wanted. They wanted to tell their own garbage. They want to put their own poison in there. And the whole messaging of this, especially part 2, was no hope and total destruction of everything. Destroy the family. Because what did they do? They had the king and queen. They divorced when Adam died, which is retarded. Or they were just about to. She was going to go back to Earth. You had Evelyn finding out that the universe, what's at the end of it? We're the center of it, all this stuff. Oh, there's nothing. So guess what? I'm going to destroy Paternia. Heaven's gone. All the souls up there.
Is this just me, Vinny? I mean, anybody else could chime in, but does this remind you a lot what they wound up doing with the 86 Transformers movie? They moved in to destroy the toy line to make way for something different.
That's what...
No, I if I may for 1 second, what they did there was ultimately a poor advice or ill-advised, but still a financial decision. They decided everyone already has these main toys.
Right.
So let's just kill them off, and we're going to bring in this new batch of toys, and then everyone is going to have to start their collection over, and we're going to earn the same amount of money again. So that was a financial decision. This is something else entirely.
Yep. It really is.
Vinny, why don't you elaborate? What have you heard about this?
From what I heard, they want to get rid of the power structure of He-Man. They wanted to, again, much like they did with Star Wars and Luke, get rid of the heroes and make room for the female characters to be the leading force. That's one of the main steps they wanted to do, and that's why they made this all about Teela and Evelyn and how powerful they could actually be. We have even that whole shit of even Teela, she's given the rules. No, I don't like those rules. I'll do my own fucking thing. What? Like they shit all over all of it to do whatever the hell they wanted, and that's disgusting to show the Mary Sue aspect.
Who is the one most in charge of that? Because I don't think that Kevin Smith is the most guilty. I think it's
that one dude,
Ted
Biaselli. Yeah,
I think it's Ted Biaselli at Netflix. That he's one of the lead architects behind that. Everything that I've been able to research certainly points to that.
Yes,
Kevin Smith is just a hired gun.
That's
but
exactly it.
Biaselli really was the one calling the shots and deciding we're going to do this. And this signaling is going to be in there.
Yeah, because Kevin Smith was brought in. He was not a fan of He-Man ever. Not ever. And they knew he was a shill. You give him enough money, he'll push and promote anything. And that's what they wanted. That's why they attached his name on it, and they gave him a couple of rewrites for some characters and shit. Part 2, that's why they gave a little bit of a separation, because they wanted to have that disgusting moment where you're having, again, in a cartoon for kids, Evelyn straddling Skeletor, and trying to sexually seduce him. What the fuck was the point of that? That was clear. That was Jersey trash right there that came in. That and the fisting jokes, those kind of stupid things. You could see when his touch was on the actual episodes.
The water and the frogs, Vinny. The water and the frogs.
Yes, exactly. Don't drink the water in Jersey. It turns the frogs gay.
So you think people were put in place to destroy it intentionally?
Because again, they don't want proper heroes, and he's the strongest man in the universe. So they changed it all. So it's Masters of the Universe Revelations. It's not about He-Man. That's why He-Man was barely in it. And that's why they had to kill him off a couple of times. Just pure stupidity. And then that shit where they made him the Incredible Hulk was absolutely retarded. Not only that, he's ripping apart the people that Skeletor changed. Not that we have some hope of maybe we could revert them back or fix them. No, they're literally demon monsters, and he's ripping them apart.
Right.
What a hero.
That's what bothered me too on that respect, because they clearly don't, or they didn't really sit down and figure out what rules are going to apply here, right? Because either
how about none.
Yeah, well, that's just it. It's like either the sword.
There's one rule: no hope.
Like the way they're going about it is like, look, the way I always understood it was, the sword only works for Adam, period. Because he's the chosen one. It goes through Castle Grayskull. The only reason Skeletor was ever interested in the sword is because he needed it to get into Castle Grayskull. He just wanted the secrets. of Castle Grayskull. He had no idea, nor did anybody else, about the sword having any power whatsoever outside of that. He is the only one that's aware of it, as far as I knew, in any of the versions prior to this. So they set it up that the sword itself actually is the power source. Then they go against that by saying, oh no, Adam is actually the power source. So which one is it? You can't have both, right? And then it doesn't even fucking matter, because we get to the part that bothered me the most, and that's the part that Vinny was just talking about, and that is where Tila's like, oh no, that's not my truth. I'm going to go with this. I don't give a shit what the rules are. As long as I'm inclusive, then I can do whatever I want. And I'm like, motherfuckers, they just did not do that. Like, that just made me lose my mind. I almost threw something at the fucking TV at that point.
Right.
I'm like, that is the most intersectional, whatever word you want to put in there for woke bullshit I've ever heard. And it was the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they did it just so blatantly, right? Compared to some of the other shit we've seen. Not since like maybe Ghostbusters 2016 have I seen something so blatant as this. And at that moment, I'm like, not only did they lie to us, they're doing exactly what you said, Vinny. They are completely tearing down all the men in this. And what's sad about it is they had the opportunity, because there is a story to tell in the future with, you know, Tila taking her rightful, you know, place as the new sorceress.
Absolutely.
And Evil Lynn learning who the hell she is and how much power she has inside of her. You know, all that kind of business. Skeletor dealing with the skeletons in his closet like Hordak. Right? Like, there is a lot of shit you can do, or you could have just done what I wish they would have done in the first place. Give us a brand new version of it with this kind of design and start from scratch if you really don't want to have to adhere to something prior to it. That way you can put your own spin on it and start all over again. But clearly they only had one goal in mind, and that was what Vinny said. Tear down all the men, put the women in charge, and oh yeah, they're killing this property. It's done. It's
well, I mean, they pretty much insinuated that right from the beginning when they had Kevin Smith out there telling everybody, "Oh, this is going to be a continuation of the Filmation series. All you people that loved He-Man in the past, you got to come by and see this, because we're going to pick up where it left off." And that is not what they did.
It was the hype,
not even close.
The shilling hype bullshit. That, again, that's what he was hired for. But and you know, Tom's right. If they were going to do it, start from scratch and make up your own kind of rules and lore, and then you could start to build on it. But again, they're not trying to be storytellers here. They were going out of their way to destroy the franchise and destroy these characters. And look, again, but the rules as well, what they did, because look what happened with Skeletor. He gives the power to make Evil Lynn the sorceress, right? When he has all this power and all this knowledge, he could see into everything. He didn't see that the sorceress actually has the main power of Castle Grayskull. You know what I mean? Like, it's just everything is contradicted itself.
There's a lot of conflicts in that story, right? It's hard to even follow. Right. Real quick, Fast Steven Seagal for $2. Thank you. He says Ted is known as the activist. Smith is the shield. You know, I don't know, but did Smith cry at all for this when he looked at it, when he was a part of it? Just want to make sure.
Well, you know he did.
That's the Smith seal of approval, right?
Let's be honest. When is Kevin Smith not crying? That should be the question to ask.
Thank you, Fat Steven. Yeah, you know, like what Tom was saying about this, there is absolutely a story to be told about Tila taking her rightful place, and you can focus on the feminine characters. But I think that some of the creatives that are trying to do that now don't know how to do that. You know, we've had very powerful female characters that looked feminine, you know, that had incredible strength or powers, and they looked like women.
She-Hulk.
And it seems like they masculinize them.
Well, this is part of the problem, though. I mean, that's a big part of the problem, because that's what they do. They think strong woman means man. Tila becomes the sorceress, and all she does is punch people in the face.
Yeah,
right.
You know, it's ridiculous.
You would imagine
they're so creatively bankrupt. Like that's all you can come up with. She's just going to punch a bunch of people in the face, and
it's idiotic.
It's stupid.
But how about the other part when they actually do give the full power to Evil Lynn? She steals it, she takes it, whatever, and she becomes He-Lynn, and she has the super short lesbian haircut, and then she's muscled out top to bottom, like this beast of a man. Like what? And then let's get into Beastman. How they build up in part 1 and most of part 2 of, you know, Beastman's on her side and all this shit. It looks like they could have something there. What do? They made him a giant simp.
I liked that because he was a good ally the whole time. And here, this series shows what's going to happen to all allies.
Right.
They'll be taken advantage of and then disposed of. So I thought that was like a really good thing. So all like male feminists and other self-appointed allies to various causes, look at Beastman and behold your future.
They're called useful.
And you will be put down like that.
The only genuine bit in the entire thing. That's a good point, Andre. Very good point.
Yeah. No, but I mean, that's what happens with like the useful idiots, and the defenders and fans of this are just that.
Yeah, literally turned him into a dog and he dies.
Like, so like I was like, are you a beast or are you a man? Well, I'm gonna make you a beast. So
like,
yeah,
I'm your beast simp.
Yeah, it's creatively bankrupt, and it shows. And Vinny, I like how you covered it from the creative aspect first before you went into what you believe the reasons why for what happened.
Yeah, Vinny, before just real quick, what do you think is the ultimate motivation behind it? Because I don't think that they set out to destroy He-Man just to destroy it. What's the bigger purpose?
Again, it connects to everything else. They want to destroy heroes. They do not want to tell proper things. And these franchises, they've been around so long and they're about empowerment. The kids came up with it when they played with the toys. I have the power. It came from kids. It didn't come from the writers. It didn't come from the people who designed them. It came from the kids playing with them. And this is what they want to change. They don't want kids to be they don't want them to have any kind of power. They don't want people to feel that. They want them to depend on everything else. Depend on your government. Depend on science, because that's the other thing too. They want to try to get rid of any kind of religious aspect.
Let's be clear. They don't want you to depend on science. They want you to depend on the science, who is a deity. Who a certain doctor is able to communicate with, like burning faces of dogs and stuff like that. And he can communicate with the science and say what the science's rulings are for today.
Right. I am the science. You're wrong.
Exactly.
Wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And anyone who makes themselves a prophet for the science is unscientific in any proper sense of what science actually is.
Right.
So it's just a perversion of true science.
But it's what I said in the start as well, right? They got rid of all hope. They got rid of religious aspects. They wanted to destroy the family. Those are all the messages that they put in here. And that female empowerment is better than everything else, because they know that they can control females easy as well. It's part of what they're doing. It's part of how they do all this shit. They
control the females and look at Beastman. Then you can control the men.
Yeah, pretty much. And then there is no men, because they shouldn't have power. That's why they put soy in everything. The replacement for meat is going to be some kind of soy chemicals to bring down testosterone.
By the way, everyone, soy is bad for you and you shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
Soy and bugs for everybody. That's what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's more or less it. Again,
men shouldn't have soy, and women especially shouldn't have soy.
Right. Yeah. It gives them kids. It's fucking nuts what they did. But yes, the first thing she did when she got power was what? She destroyed heaven. Right there. Preternia. She got rid of it. Right there. There is no afterlife now. It's what we have. These are the messages that they want to put out there.
Well, not only that, but they tore down the parental units, from what I understand in this show as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The sorceress is a deadbeat mom, and then when you finally do hear her story, it's because I had to give it up. Oh no, actually, you didn't have to give it up.
It's destroying. They're trying to destroy the family unit, and the love that exists and the dependency.
Exactly. Well, why do you think it aired on Netflix?
Yeah, well, and you were drawing parallels between this and the new Star Wars. I mean, they did the exact same thing with Han and Leia. Just break up the family, break up all families. We don't need families. The nuclear family should be gone. Just look up to your single moms and your government.
Did you also guys get the same point? I thought they were insinuating here that the sorceress and Man-at-Arms are the biological parents of Teela.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what they definitely pushed.
Which is going way against, as far as I know, every single version of the story prior.
Yeah,
to that.
didn't he just raise her?
Yeah, Man at Arms is like a foster father.
Yes,
Yeah.
he found her in both versions that I know of, or all versions that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So Fast Stevens, a golf Canadian $2 says, so Tila Fast 7 Furious, the rules with friends. I love you guys. Subscribe to Fat Steven, man. He is great. He's very entertaining.
Amelia.
Absolutely.
She should have said that on the show. Just turn to the camera. I'm going to space because familia.
So Tommy, any thoughts about the comparison between the original He-Man and what we're getting now, and what do you think of it?
Well, I mean, obviously, if you look at the original Filmation, yeah, it was kind of campy. It was done in the same vein that a lot of cartoons were done at the time. They were done, yes, to help promote the toy line, but they were just supposed to be campy fun for kids to watch, because if kids are having fun watching these programs, they're going to be more likely to ask their parents, can I get those toys so I could play along with them when I'm watching the cartoons?
It actually had some pedigree behind it, though. Like,
yeah,
you had
what?
T.C. Fontana, and you had Paul Dini, you had guys like Brad Bird and a few others working on it. Sorry.
Well, I mean, they had stories and they had good messaging at the end of them. But like, once again, it was still like the kind of like the campy stories that we've seen with all the other 80s cartoons at the time.
Right.
They didn't take the serious approach that the original mini comics did, because the mini comics took a lot more serious of an approach than the Filmation one did. The Filmation was more for fun. It was more for drawing the kids in. It was more for telling a story and getting the kids involved so they'll want to get the toys. And now you look at this trash dump that they got out now. I mean, who is really interested in this? Who is running out to buy all these figures at the stores? Because last time I was out in the store, I still seen a bunch of the Revelation figures sitting there.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the Origins retro line, other than He-Man and Skeletor all over the place, I don't see any of the other figures. None.
I was just at the store, and all they had left was Battle Action He-Man or whatever, Battle Damage.
Yeah, the Battle Armor Damage one.
But I will argue that the original Motu actually was it's not as respected as much as it should be, because I've watched quite a few episodes recently, and it still holds up quite well. I mean, a lot of people give credit to the real Ghostbusters for still holding up, but I feel like they should also mention that one, because I feel like it's got a lot better writing than it gives credit, that it's given credit for. And that was one of the problems going into it. Like Kevin Smith was going at it. It was like, oh, it's just a stupid cartoon made to sell toys. It's like, clearly you didn't watch it then, man. Because like it still holds up pretty well. Surely He-Man can't punch anybody, but I mean that's what we were hoping for with this Netflix series, was finally we're gonna get to see He-Man punch somebody. That was about it,
Yeah,
well, there was another interesting thing about that, Tom and Andre. I'm sure you both know this. Like, that was the first time they started using mocap, when they actually did the original He-Man cartoon. Because they actually had
rotoscoping.
They actually had a legitimate actor do all the movements and everything before they wound up putting it into the cartoon form,
which was something that Ralph Bakshi had used quite a bit before that. But like it was they had actors act out. Well, see, Filmation had this kind of way of doing like animation. They would make action sequences with the actors, like you're talking about, Tommy, and then they would keep them on hand. So that's why when you watch He-Man, especially now as an adult, you'll notice that a lot of the same animation gets used over and over and over, because they did these similar like certain tucks and rolls and jumps and these and that. Like they had every actor do certain actions, so they had like a catalog of them, and they would just go to them whenever they needed them.
So real quick, our friend Christy showed up in the beginning, but I think she was gone and just came back. I'm not going to read that, Christy. But
hey, fuckstick.
Just want to thank you for being here.
The Rogue Daddy, Stephen Welton.
The Rogue Daddy. If you need any more proof after the stream that true evil does not die, according to Christy, is in the chat. Thank you guys.
Nice to see you, Christy. Thank you for coming through.
One last thing I want to mention, Tom and Andre. I don't know. Did you see the latest release of some of the Origin figures that came out? They were actually paying a lot of respect to those original mini comics. Like they released the Eternian Guardian, which was the original version of the Sorceress in the mini comics, where she was green. And then they released the Beastman, early sketches of Beastman, where it's got the LOP for the Lords of Power, which was supposed to be the original franchise name. I don't know. Did you see both of them?
Yeah, actually, I think I got both of those. Yeah. Andre, though, I think he had to step away for a moment. I don't think he's gotten too many of the origin figures. He's more of a classics man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I kind of figured that for Andre. Like he loves retro. He loves everything retro, and that's awesome. That's kind of why I had Tommy and Vinny come on, because that's what they do. That's their show on Thursdays. Orville Nation, speaking of great people around here, Orville Nation, please guys go subscribe to his channel for $10. Thank you so much, brother. So please everyone check out the GoFundMe campaign for Drew's Mom's Care. Thank you. If you mind, we share a link, Steven. Absolutely share a link. Yeah, Drew's my brother, man.
You could leave more than just a tip there.
More than that, yeah, but just be careful because we wear the Drew. Now, thank you, PJ. Thanks a lot, brother. Guys, please go check out Orville Nation. He's got a great crew of people over there. They're top notch. Thank you, guys. Anybody have any final thoughts on Revelation?
Boycott Revelations at all costs. It's a pile of shit, and they destroy it all.
You have a low opinion of shit.
Well,
it'll suck out your soul faster than a succubus.
Right. Well, we're talking like Chipotle and Taco Bell type shit. It's just like running and dripping down your leg.
Wow.
This is Revelations.
Multicolor.
Wow. Well, if there's red, run to a doctor.
What about a loaded diaper?
Let's go, Brandon. All the way.
All right. So it sucks. I tried to watch it, and then I tried to watch more of it, and it didn't work. And then I just kind of looked at everybody's review of it and caught the highlights. And I'm not interested. I'm just not interested in
highlights. I hope you said that in air quotes.
Yeah. It's just I hate seeing time and time again. I hate seeing these properties that we love. It's like, when they started doing this back in the mid 2000s, it was one of the excuses was, they think we're ruining their childhood, and then they go about trying to do exactly that, by destroying the memories and that we had growing up. I love He-Man, love Transformers, love G.I. Joe, all the 80s cartoons, into the 90s. And they're systematically it seems like they're systematically going through them one by one, with the exception of Transformers, because I thought the last Transformers offering was okay. Was pretty good.
I think they could have did better with the last part in Kingdom.
They could have.
Part 3. The mistake was putting the Beast Wars stuff in there. I think they should have just done Earthrise like they were supposed to do.
Yeah, it did kind of fall apart in part 3, but for the most part, it was at least decent.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully nobody got too. Sorry, I was just gonna say, hopefully nobody got it too attached to the Bumblebee storyline, because that ain't gonna continue.
Oh no!
I know.
I didn't like it.
I never get attached to bumblebees. You know what I discovered? Bumblebee is for chicks. No real man likes him.
Not even chicks like him.
Well, one thing I want to say though is for sure. I mean, Netflix has been destroying so much, but they've actually done some good things as well. And I was telling everybody about that series Arcane. Holy shit! This thing is one of the best things on television. This League of Legends stuff, and I've never played the games. I had no interest in them. I drew one character for a convention because one of the voice actors was going to be there, but I know nothing about this thing. I was sucked into those first 3 episodes and the entire series. That thing is magnificent. Storytelling, art design.
Well, that was beautiful. The same way for me, Vinny. I am not familiar with the game, so you guys were telling me that check it out. So I just watched the first episode a little earlier today, and I got to say I wasn't disappointed, because I assumed it was going to be like every other anime that I've watched, and I was like, yeah, this is just not really that interesting to me. But no, it was actually pretty good, and it had a decent amount of story to it too.
Oh, dude, yeah, the story just keeps getting better. By that third one, you are thoroughly sucked in all the way. It's damn good.
Has anybody played League of Legends? It's based on that, right? It's based on that game.
Yeah, but from what I understood, like this is sort of like an origin story, so to speak. Right. And they went a little more, I guess, into the lore of that world and that's the 2 cities kind of thing, which, from what I understood, that the game didn't really do. So that's why people were kind of curious, like why were certain characters in there? Because I know they said Jinx and Vi. They are characters that are relatively new to League of Legends, but they kind of they did it all off of them, of that story of these 2 sisters, which I thought was genius because holy crap, it was fantastic.
I was about to ask the chat if anybody's played League of Legends or has watched Arcane. Nano Reaper says the anime is better than the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, we were talking about that last night. Miriam was suggesting it. She said that you had said that she should watch it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
What do you think of it, Katie?
Well, I'm not a game fan myself. But I have a younger brother who started playing it like years and years and years ago. So right now he's almost like a health professional. And every time, when we even lived together as younger, whenever I just walked by and saw that, on his laptop, and he was like clicking like crazy, and I was like, dude, what's like fun about this? I just didn't understand it because I'm not really into these types of games. And then I completely moved, and he and his girlfriend totally just got me like, get it into your computer. There's this new module. It's called Teamfight Tactics. Basically, you just build your champions into the teams, right? And you just compete team against team. There's like 8 people going against, one by one against pretty much each other. And you just build a raster from it, like place yourself according to how well you do. And that was kind of, I turned it on, and I felt like turning it off really, really fast because I didn't understand a thing there. There was a lot of clicking, a lot of icons, a lot of symbols, to learn and work with and operate with. So I'm really, really impressed by people who actually understand that. And then, I got the notification about this Arcane thing coming out, and I was like, okay, let's watch it. And it's really, really awesome. Like, really awesome. I'm very much into anime myself. So that was a thing that maybe helped me to get into a game a little bit, because they are like narrating and introducing all the characters that are in the game.
Cosmic User says, I enjoyed Arcane, but found it excessively intersectional. I think they're just getting smarter with how they implement their propaganda.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at that, really. They're walking through the streets. You see a tranny or 2 real quickly. We got some of the haircuts that we're familiar with here and there, the hair coloring. But that's not really new stuff. Like you think back to like 80s action flicks, you'd have the transvestite in the corner, they walk by quick for a quick laugh, and that's kind of what it took me back to. Like I see it more as insertion for joke material more than anything.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not sure if it's so much trying to get smarter about and planning it as it is kind of, going back to the way things kind of used to be. Because these things have always been there, man. They just haven't always been in our face,
Yeah, I agree with Red 100%. That's what it felt like, because when you did see it, like you could clearly see it was a man, and it looked like it literally like that, like a joke, like a little laugh. But they didn't focus on that, And the way the designs are, a lot of designs are kind of, again, geared towards, those specific haircuts and things of that nature. Fine, but they're also complementing what like the game designers were doing, and they did their own thing, but it worked for me. It worked. And I'm coming at it from that aspect, and I came from that world as well. Concept artwork. This felt like again, concept artwork that was brought to life, because it wasn't so much anime. It felt more because it had that painted, cell shaded kind of vibe to it.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's gorgeous, but everything that happens too, like the color schemes work with the emotional moments of the story. Like whoever really worked on this, they're masters of their craft when it comes to, again, telling a story, bringing those characters to life. Because there's the little motions too, and the way that they did the models for these characters, where like you have someone drinking a bottle of booze or something, but even the little movements in the hands, it's very natural to how an actor would be if they're trying to set, a certain mood or a certain attitude towards what's going on in the scene. You know what I mean? Like every little thing, it made sense to it, and it played off itself really well. That's why I'm coming at it from that approach. And yeah, I was blown away by it.
That's pretty high praise coming from you, Vinny. Hey, check the private chat real quick. So Sebastian says League of Legends game don't have any story, just click fighting. Well, I mean, I guess they had to create a backstory, but it also, I mean, from what you're saying, the importance of crafting a good story around characters, sort of established characters, even if it is just a click story, can do a lot for promotion. And I mean, this is decent entertainment. You guys, what do you guys think of it?
Well, I have to give him praise just because, I mean, historically, video games have not been translated very well to movies or TV at all, or even animation for that matter. You get some gems here and there, but I mean, I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know how well this has been translated because I haven't played the game, but I'm kind of glad I haven't played the game because I don't want to even look at it from that perspective. Like, this is just something brand new to me. And that's one thing why I think it's playing as well as it is for those of us who have seen it and enjoyed it, because that's what we want. That's what we've been saying, right? We need new properties. We need new things. Like, just rehashing the same old crap over and over again until it's woke and diarrhea, like, isn't doing it. We need something new to latch onto. And I think this might be one of those things.
So I would like to point out, when it comes to the character designs, I've been clicking through some of them. Like, you can see, like, all of them are very, very distinctive and very different, that they're various forms of races, creatures. For example, I remember this character, and I've seen a video trailer. We really can't play, but basically it's like she is controlling these metal pieces, and she just walks into this desert like land, and then she uses her powers to assemble those pieces into this metallic horse, and she just rides the horse. I mean, like, can you imagine that creative mind? They have the best team of creators, of concept artists, to animators that are able to put all of this together in so many various styles. Like, it's not like it's the same thing to get. Like, usually you meet this thing where for example the facial features are the same, right? Because like the style of an artist is the same. I would like to show this artist, for example, from over here. I have to brag a little bit, but because this dude is from Slovakia, where I come from,
right?
And he is freaking amazing. Like, all these designs are his own, and you can totally see, like, all the designs are completely different, right? Like,
that's gorgeous.
Just
wow.
It's
amazing.
And for example, this design over here is used in the recent update, in the recent series. And this design was used in the previous version of the character. So
wow.
Yeah, like, today I'm a proud patriot, just enjoying it. Finally, we shine.
Was this that Alexi guy?
Say it again.
What's his name?
Michael Ivan.
Oh, okay.
Here you can see it.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
he's really cool.
You guys recommend this show?
Definitely.
Yeah, highly.
And see, here's the thing. I've been to my first and only comic salon right over here in Slovakia. I met this dude personally. Like, we almost shook hands. I attended his what was it? Like, he gave a speech, how to work with concept design and design of characters, and I just sat there and listened to him, and I just didn't know it was him.
Yeah, and just to point out, like, I hear you, Comic Fusion. Like, I trust me, I totally understand where you're coming from with the negative aspects of this, and I think a big part of that is just the fact that we've kind of been conditioned to look for this shit now, right? Because, like I said, a lot of this stuff has always been there. Even those haircuts have been there a long time. You just really didn't take notice to them before because they weren't, shoved in your face a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big part of the problem. That's something we need to try to get away from. I think in our hearts and in our minds is try not to immediately look for something to complain about and something negative. Yeah. And that's something people seem to have a hard time with, and I understand why. Mm-hmm. It's just, I mean, for me personally, I I'm sick of it. Like I'm sick of looking for shit to complain about. I'm desperate for something good. So I think I've kind of rearranged my attitude. That's what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for something good.
Well, that's why I was pushing this on people as well too. Like when I saw it, I'm like, dude, I know Red's gonna love this. I know Nirim's gonna love this. I told a couple other people, but because again, I was invested in the story first and foremost. Then like the world that they built looks stunning. So some of these designs, like it makes sense anyway. I mean, from what I understood, I mean the character is some kind of bi or lesbian, so I didn't give a shit either way. I cared about the story that they were telling, and that's the thing I've said in the past too. I don't care what someone's sexual orientation is, as long as you're telling a good story and it's not shit that's crammed in your face. Who really cares about that? And to me, it wasn't crammed in anyone's face. And what they've been doing is solid. But this is the one time I drew one of their characters I was talking about.
Well, you know what? One of the things you guys are talking about, especially Red, when he's talking about, like people are just looking for stuff. Just think about if Underworld was created today, how many people would probably jump on it and say it's a feminist agenda movie because it's a female lead in it? I mean, you know what? People are just looking for it now at this point. And unfortunately, these companies that are producing the thing, it is their job to make us interested in it. And 9 times out of 10, they fail at that when they release trailers or they release the synopsis of what the show is going to be about. This is all on them. They need to do better.
And for example, when it comes to those hairstyles, I would just like to point out that most of those hairstyle design come from actual anime. I don't know if you remember the Dragon Ball, right? Or other older anime. And I remember so many fans were trying to copy those hairstyles. The only problem at that time was the technology and the basically materials wouldn't allow us to color our hair in such bright colors. Now it's available, so all people do it.
Yeah. Well, but don't forget too, it's also the punk scene. That came from the punk scene. Having half your head shaved and all that kind of stuff. But anyway.
I mean, and it's everybody's allowed to have their own style. But I like what Gaze is saying. I don't want to be so static that every time I look at something, I immediately look for things to nitpick.
Right.
Because if something is presented well done, if something's done creatively and is presented well, I mean,
we can share it.
I would rather have, if anything's being, anything that I don't normally digest, if it's being represented in something that's original, I'm going to be I'll probably be more able to watch it and not judge it as harshly as if it was something that had a pre-established franchise and they've changed it to fit their ideas. But speaking of good entertainments, this is why I support independent creators, and Vinny Tardamella is an independent creator in our community, and this is his project, Shadow of the Kraken. We're going to talk about this before we head into Ghostbusters. Afterlife.
My final thought too before I jump into this was the thing with Vi as well. Look what she had to be anyway. She had to be strong for her sister. You had the other character who basically became like the foster father. She has no mother. So what happens usually to girls like that? They become tomboyish, don't they? She stayed tough because she had to stay tough in those streets. She had to fight. And who was her father? Her father was the toughest. Well, the foster father was one of the toughest guys there. He was the leader of that underground. He was the good element. When he left, or what happened to him? When that happened, what happened to the city? It got worse, right? So that's what I mean. It's the way that you could tell a good story, basically, and it's through characters, through emotion, through realistic approaches. And that's kind of what I did with Shadow of the Kraken. I approached it in a realistic manner. This is a pirate story that I'm having it set in that time, 1700s, because I wanted to make sure like the backdrop to this world felt very real, very tangible. I have elements in there that people are usually afraid to go near. Slavery is going to be in here. We have prostitution, treasure, ship battles. We got everything you need out of a proper pirate story. But we're following our main character here, Nathaniel James Callan, how he was part of the Royal Navy and why and how he defects into becoming a pirate, and what he's been doing, how he's living kind of in this new world that's quote unquote freedom, but freedom comes at a certain price. And he starts to break his own rules. And part of the series too is going to be like how dark is, or how far is too much before you can kind of get back to those morals and what you're actually trying to build. I'm going to have those aspects in there, but this does have a supernatural twist to it. So you're going to have your fun comic book moments. But there is, again, beautiful women. There's brutality. There's goriness in some scenes, clearly. You know, I got a guy getting eaten by a white shark, or a great white shark here. But again, like a little bit of everything, because that's what I think is really key in telling a great story, and something that, again, you're going to want more from. So every page is going to be like that. Every page looks like it's a beautiful painted cover. I really want people to be invested in all this. I'm one of the most trusted creators who's been doing crowdfunding. I've got 5 fulfilled campaigns, last one of which was a hardcover book that was done in a European format. We're talking 100 pages, oversized. That's Through the Woods, which is still available. So get them before they're gone.
It's beautiful. I got one, and they're gorgeous.
Thank you, brother. It's perfect for the holiday season as well. If you're still looking for a gift for somebody for Christmas or whatever, you can definitely snatch those up. But yeah, again, we got a great villain in this series as well. He's pursuing the main characters. He has his own agenda. He's a very dark character, but I kept him a little mysterious in this first issue, although you do get a big reveal with him towards the end of the book. And you'll see what his motives are and what he's kind of been doing. It's really one hell of a story. I can't wait for you guys to see it. I always come so close to giving you guys spoilers, but I'm staying away from spoilers. So I keep it kind of vague. But if you do want to snatch this up, I do have the exclusive covers, the one with the skull. That is kind of a key item in the story. It has multiple maps carved into it. It's coded. You'll find out who did that, who's responsible for it, who the skull belongs to throughout the series. This is 52 pages. Yeah, you're gonna have one hell of a story. Still available. City of Venus with the 2 art books. Those 3 books you could get on the City of Venus campaign, which is right here. You click on that, or Through the Woods, the hardcover book I was talking about. You could also click on that. These on the bottom, they ship immediately, same day or next day. The art books, again, I just showed that Jinx piece. That's in one of the art books. They're 52 pages each. So there's 104 pages of beautiful artwork between the volume 1 and volume 2. And if you hit the featured tier, just do the add-on if you want volume 1. That's the best way of doing it. Yeah, City of Venus is another fantastic project. If you're looking for sexy, strong, leading women, that it's not agenda-driven, nothing's crammed in your face. You just get some really hotness in there, and one hell of a great sci-fi story. You're gonna love it. The sequel's coming right after the pirate book is done and fulfilled. So I'll be working on that immediately afterwards.
Beautiful. And Vinny,
yeah.
you're not shying away from any of the topics of that time in this book. Like, you're not bending the knee to any revisionist history. You're presenting it as it was.
Right. Exactly. And that's what happened too. Slavery is a big part of things. Some of them, they actually became amazing pirates, and others, they were retraded and resold, and horrible things happened. But yeah, this is going to be part of the story anyway with a lot of these characters, and when I get to those other elements. But overall, the story is about our lead character and kind of what happens to him, especially in this first book. Great cliffhangers throughout this thing. Bookend moments of holy shit. So, and in between, you get so much other great story elements. Again, like I told you, ship battles, beautiful women. You get it all. You get everything and more.
So, yeah, guys, please, if you can, back Shadow the Kraken or share out links, support your independent creators out there, whether they're writing novels, comics, whether they're trying to grow YouTube channels, whatever brand it is. Support indie creators, because that's where the future is. Some entertainments, it's real entertainment, and it comes from our generation. It comes from we who have watched all of our favorite franchises, almost all of our favorite franchises, be used, appropriated, misused, abused to promote ideals that none of us really share. And it's time to start supporting indie creators. So please support Vinny. I've known this guy for almost 3 years now, and since I first met him, he has done nothing but make books, promote other creators, and respect his backers and love his fans. So please, guys, check him out. Much appreciated. That's
the way to do it, man. I left the mainstream because of that. I helped McFarlane. I was doing designs for him, made millions for that guy. And just to see how they treat people and the fans it's appalling. The convention scene, absolutely disgusting. I almost got into a couple of fights with quote unquote professionals because of how they treated fans. It drove me nuts. So I'm like, no, fuck this, I'm gonna make my own stuff, and that's what we've been doing here. So yeah, I love hanging out with everyone here. Walton, you've been fantastic. Again, like you are the yin to my yang when it comes to all this shit.
Yeah, brother. I'm on the other side. That's how we met, just kind of that when we first met up, it was, TFMCG combo. Thank you, brother. Guys, please support Vinny. Islington Girl, thank you so much. 149 super sticker of some trees. I love trees. Thank you so much, Islington Girl. Appreciate you. And Dr. Coffinelser, $5 says, I look at overall quality. For example, Shape of Water is woke, but still pretty good. And it doesn't destroy any pre-established characters. Oh yeah. That's good. And right. That's my point, is that if you're going to create something and put values in it that I may not hold or understand or want into something original, then I'm more able to not accept them, but deal with the messaging, I suppose. If the creativity is good, and that's what matters. So, all right, we're going to move.
I agree with that statement too, man. That movie had wokeness in it, but it was a good story. Like, again, if you could do it naturally and nothing is really too in your face or that they're really trying to push agendas, that it's just kind of there and that's fine. Because we see movies like that in the 70s, 80s, same shit. It's just when it's really shoved in your face, it clear as day,
Dig that. Comic Fusion just sent out a link for Space Crime Domino by Kai MFS. He's another creator in this community. Good dude. Please check him out. Just guys, you have no idea how much it means to any independent creator to see somebody share out a link or care enough to do that. Like, even if you can't buy it, even if you're not interested in getting a certain book, or just sharing out that link can mean the difference between somebody, whether they keep going or not. We do not have an industry to support us. We only have each other, and we rise together. Vinny, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate you. Next, we're going to move into Culture Casino. Who's going to take us through the
Ghostbusters Afterlife box office? That's right. The industry was not prepared for what this movie was going to do. They underestimated it a couple of times in a row now. As obviously, Tom and Andre and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time. This doesn't surprise me. In fact, you can see that they projected it on the lower end going into the Thanksgiving weekend, and it's heading towards the higher end of this particular shaded area. Beautiful. So currently worldwide box office as of current estimates is $88.9 million, on its way to 90, probably easily within the end of the day.
We see the daily.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that right now. Daily box office starting with, let's see, the 25th, which would have been Thanksgiving. You can go back a day or two. You can see that business picked up the day before Thanksgiving. And from where it was trending downward to 5,450,000, up 17% from the day before, which the day before was even up 21% the day before that. So going into the holiday, you started to see the tempo pick up for this film. Of course, the schools here in the United States were out. Again, these are domestic numbers still, but
it barely got beat by Encanto.
Yeah, barely. Yeah, we were talking about that. Tom and I were talking about that the other day. And as you can see, I mean, the lowest day here was, that Monday. It was down 65% from, the Sunday of its full first weekend, I believe. So as you can see here, 24th, 5,450,000. Then it ticks up again to, it stays in the range at 5,300,000.
By the way.
Yeah, well, that was Thanksgiving Day. It did really good on Thanksgiving Day, right? For only essentially, most people, half the day is dedicated to a meal. The other half is the activities around the meal. So it did pretty well. And then it jumped. Friday, it jumped 84% from the previous day. It's only down 41% from the previous Friday. That's a very small very small slide.
That's
Friday.
What I mean by closing.
Great hold and looks very promising for the weekend.
Because Friday for Encanto was only 10.4, I think. Yeah. So it just, as I said, it's closing the gap because, what was it, Wednesday? I think it was 2 million difference.
Yeah, you read my mind. I was going to do a comparison real quick. Let me pull that up. Well, let's look at Encanto because it's really the only competition here. Encanto 2021. This film is interesting. to say the least. But as you can see how it's tracking, we finally got some updated numbers here. On day 3, it's at 24.3. Versus day 3 for GhostBusters Afterlife, it was 44. So you can tell which is a bigger film. Now we'll watch what this trend is going through the weekend. But as you can see here, we know how much the production budget was for the GhostBusters Afterlife. We don't know how much Encanto cost. Right? They took down some numbers that were here before. They say the first Friday it made 11 million.
Well, they just haven't released those numbers for Encanto?
Well, okay, so here's first day, 7.5.
I'm smelling some shenanigans with
me
Encanto
too.
because they did not advertise this movie at all.
Yeah. And it's been pretty flat, and the only place people have seen it are on those forced commercials on Disney Plus and places like that. But as you can see, First Friday brings the global total, which is weird, right? We have a global number of 24.3 after the first Friday. I know they're adding in the Tuesday preview, which was 1.5 million, and the Wednesday preview, which I don't remember what the numbers. Do you happen to remember those, Tom?
I think it made 4.5.
Yeah, so it just kept ticking up a little bit, and as you can see here, I mean, it's reporting all those numbers or the total, the cum at 24.3. But if you look overall, that doesn't line up with what's over here, right? Day 3. So we'll know less shenanigans will be revealed by Monday, Tuesday this coming week.
They quietly announced that Encanto is also going to be on Disney Plus in like 30 days too, or less than 30 days.
Right. And so really this was just kind of an also ran, to kind of be a spoiler, I think, for Ghostbusters Afterlife. But these numbers are coming along pretty well, and I'm still waiting on my Numero membership, so I can't actually look at all, including down to the regional box office numbers, but hopefully that gets processed at some point. But looking at this, we are doing quite well week to week. I don't think Encanto is going to have a $63 million week. I don't know about you guys, but I do feel like Ghostbusters Afterlife is trending in the right way. What do you guys think?
I think so too, man, because word of mouth is getting out of how good the movie is. We know a lot of the critics tried to bash it because they were very upset that their 2016 one is never going to be touched again. And they confirmed it in this movie that movie did not exist in their lore.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Good. Well, I mean, the movie had there were a couple problems, but it's nowhere near as bad as some of the critics were trying to say it was.
No, but here's like the thing: it doesn't have to be the perfect movie. Right. The only thing it has to do is rinse the palette of the 2016 movie. It has to treat the original with respect, and it has to leave the audience hungry for more. If it can do all of that, then it's a success. No one ever said that this has to be like a masterpiece in its own right. It only has to do those things. People have to have a good time and want more. If it can do that, that's all that's needed. It's not supposed to rock the boat or anything. Right. The franchise is not in a place where it can afford that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that any expectations for it were lowered because of the 2016 release?
Oh yeah, absolutely. In every way. I mean, that movie, because they'll never admit it out loud, but people within Sony's numbers divisions, stuff like that, they all know that the previous movie did a number on the brand. And worse than that, it became a rallying cause for the shall we say, loudmouths of less than good upbringing. It became a rallying cause for them. So it's basically it's the whole brand is in some sense toxic because of it. So it has an uphill struggle, and because of that, it can't really rock any boats. And you could kind of tell on the movie, I think, that they went extra diverse and stuff like that, even more than they were planning anyway, because of that.
Yeah, but it did not take away from the film whatsoever, because the story was solid. It was good. It was respectful, like you said. I thought there was a lot of class given to it. You could tell that there was love put into this movie from Jason and Ivan Wright.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, the pacing was different than the original. Like if you're going looking for the original Ghostbusters, you're not going to find it.
Well, I think Script Doctor is right. It's not technically Ghostbusters 3, and that's why they didn't call it that.
Right.
It is a Ghostbusters universe story that kind of gives a cap to those first two movies and then leaves the door open for possibilities in the future, basically. And I'm real curious because Andre, I mean, obviously it sounds like you liked it, but we haven't really got your overall impression yet. If we can take a moment to kind of hear what you thought about the film, because I'm really curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. No, sorry. I liked it. I really liked it. I thought it was exactly the kind of movie that it needed to be. Is it the perfect movie? Oh, not by a long shot. Is it one that I'll be watching again and again and again? No, it isn't that either. It's a movie I would have absolutely loved age 10. Right now, it's a movie that I enjoy, but no more than that. But again, it did everything it had to do, and it hit the right emotional beats. Because yeah, it was like one that you enjoy as a fan. You enjoy it from a story perspective. Plus, it had that extra emotional thing. Since Harold Ramis obviously can't be in the movie, they were able to work with his absence in a way which I felt served the movie very, very well, while it honored him and his legacy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
I can't remember the name of the lead, but what did you think of her performance?
McKenna Grace. She was great.
Yep.
The entire cast was great. Everyone was so good. And yeah, she was really, really good.
Yeah. And
everyone was.
I have to tell you, Andre, after like the first 5 minutes, did you not just fall in love with that podcast kid?
I just totally listened to his podcast. I mean, I join Dan Aykroyd and be subscriber number 2.
Oh man, that's so great. but seriously, now the interesting part of this, and I'm going to scroll up a little bit. This is the point that I am fascinated with. Guess what happened on the second Friday?
What?
Between Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters 2016. Afterlife passed it.
Finally.
Wow.
I'm not surprised. It had to happen. Because this is like what I expected. That this one, it may have started at a lower point, which honestly was to be expected. It would have been very, very nice if it had been able to beat the 2016 at the box office unadjusted for inflation. But oh well, you can't have everything.
Right.
But they were close enough that with word of mouth, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
Before the daily averages is going to overtake the 2016, which fell off a cliff in its second weekend. So yeah, I fully anticipate that over the course of this weekend, it would overtake it. That it would happen already on Friday. Yeah, that makes sense.
And if you look at the difference between, like with Ghostbusters 2016, all the promotion they put behind it, and then that big drop off, and with Ghostbusters Afterlife, you had a lot of critics and media kind of fighting the film, criticizing it, and now it's started off slow, and now it's starting to take off.
Right.
The difference
when you say the same thing kind of happened with the Joker, it was more word of mouth because the mainstream media wasn't pushing that one either.
Right.
Oh, quite the contrary. I mean, that was hilarious. I remember it well. We did several videos about it. This is the only time I've seen the mainstream media so against a movie that they outright said, if you go see this movie, an incel will come and shoot you in the theaters, so stay away.
Right.
Yeah, I think
you had people on Facebook mark themselves as safe after Joker screenings.
Yeah, they were triggered by that film.
They were
I
citing the
too.
military. The press was citing the military on that too. On top of it,
the funniest thing was, and Andre, I wonder if you recollect this, but the you know what else released at the same time, or was in theaters the same time, was that the Frozen 2 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was a Disney movie, and people actually got shot in that
shooting.
One.
Oh no!
No, it wasn't a shooting. Somebody brought a machete.
It was something anyway. Some people got stabbed or shot, or some way they
a fight broke out.
really nasty, gory waste during a screening of Frozen 2, whereas with Joker, nothing happened. The media must have been so disappointed, promising all of those mass shootings, and nothing happened.
I know, right? Well, here's another thing to take away
the
from
news coming out of Africa last week. But anyway, sorry.
No, sorry. I was going to say, here's another thing to take away from this. I mean, if you look at 2016, not only was there no like fear porn that we're seeing right now, but the markets were a lot more saturated with people going to the movies at the time. And considering that it really only beat Afterlife out by a little bit, considering how bad the market is right now, where people are still kind of like intimidated with going out to the theaters, I think that is absolutely surprising. And that really needs to be talked about a lot more as well.
Yeah. And imagine how sweet it would have been if it, even in those circumstances, here's like also the thing, this is November. We are, well, actually, if you want to be technical, the pandemic is over, and we have now reached the endemic stage. But lots of people don't know that, and they're still terrified of going anywhere. So you compare that to July summer release, which is what the 2016 movie was, and still they were in the ballpark of each other. Now, I don't know exactly what has happened in terms of ticket prices since then, if how far they were away from each other in terms of attendance, but how sweet would it have been if this one beats the 2016 movie for attendance, which I'm sure it will eventually. I mean, probably over the course of the weekend.
And the fact that it opened. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, Tom. Real quick before we got going, Vinny has a family event that he has to get to, so I just want to give him a chance to say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. This was a fantastic stream. Hanging out with everyone here was really great today as well. If you guys want to, please go subscribe to my channel. I'm over 1,000. I got monetized finally, all that great stuff. Yeah. So we're going to be doing a stream tomorrow night, which I believe Walton should be popping in as well. Over there, we're going to have a couple other great people. It's going to be a fun time. And speaking of movies, if you want to see a really funny review, I saw the dog shit of a film called Welcome to Raccoon City, the Resident Evil one. And I did the whole entire review and full spoiler of the movie as Dr. Death Fauci himself. So if you want to have a good laugh, go check it out. It destroyed my throat for 2 days, but it was worth it.
Good.
Nice, very cool. Vinny, it was good to meet you.
Oh, a pleasure, man. Anytime you want to drop by too, just let me know. We can hang.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. Andre, Tommy, Tom, Nerium, Culture, who am I missing? Red. Everyone, please have a great day. We're going to hang out soon. Chat, love you guys. Bye.
Take care.
Good night, Benny.
Bye bye.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, and traditionally, like, okay, this opened on Thanksgiving as well, and even though it's not Thanksgiving in other countries, a lot of other countries have adopted Black Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to remember that there's a good chance there's going to be a big uptick comparison from yesterday's box office to today, because a lot of people were out shopping yesterday.
Right.
A lot more people are going to see the movie today.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll even get, and it's closing that gap with Encanto. If it can beat Encanto on a Saturday, that'd be amazing. Because it's been a while since we've had a movie in its second weekend come out ahead of the new film.
Yeah, because and that also because there hasn't been a new film that's been right on the heels of one. I mean, it's at least a 2-week gap.
And I also think that one of the reasons why it's not seeing as much money this weekend is it got moved out of a lot of IMAXs as well. Because Dune is having a second drop.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I mean, like with the exception of movies like Dune, we've had these big promotion, these big budget films that haven't really done or met expectations or done well. And Ghostbusters has the push of the fans behind it. So
and then ultimately the two things I highlighted, Stephen, to emphasize your point, production budget for Afterlife was $75 million. The production for Ghostbusters 2016 is $144 million.
Yeah, and I just want to point it out, the IMAX thing is the reason I think, and I don't think that the reason it's being moved out of IMAXs has anything to do with the box office. I think it has to do with the fact that there is no special IMAX scenes for Ghostbusters Afterlife, and this deal with Dune was probably something that was pre-set up, I bet. I don't know if Andre agrees with that or not, but I have a feeling it was, because this is timed for when the movie would have been off HBO Max, and it's filmed specifically for IMAX, and they're doing a big push for it, so...
Makes sense.
So yeah, it makes perfect sense. I don't know any more details, but it absolutely makes sense in to it.
Plus, it's heading into Oscar season, so I think that's another reason for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, are we doing the check boxes for this Oscar season, or is that
not really? But I think Dune has a shot at a few technical Oscars, at least. It might even get, it might surprise us since there wasn't a whole lot of movies out this year. It might get nominated for Best Picture. I wouldn't count on it, but that would be cool if it did, because it'd be nice to see a movie that actually people saw get nominated for once.
Yeah, that would be cool, because like the last few Oscars, like they've been notorious for choosing the most obscure things that no one saw. And I do think that several of the wins of the last few years are going to come and bite them in the ass, Chloe Zhao style.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, any last comments, Culture? I know you've got to leave soon. On what you thought of the movie.
Oh no, Andre gave the great breakdown of the film. I can't say anything more about how great the film is in my perspective. It's not the best film. I mean, it's not. It is a good movie. We haven't had a good movie. Where it excels for me is that it honored all the original material, all the good original material, and not the trash we were served 5 years ago. But I liked, or 4 years ago. My math's bad today. Anyway, these films are important because they were touchstones of our childhood. One of the best reviews I saw, I think, was from George the Giant Slayer, because George did a very thoughtful reminder of why these films matter and the good aspects of this film. While he didn't think it was a great film, he didn't like some of the elements in it. He does a very fair job of breaking it down. So do check that out for sure.
Yeah, George is a great channel. Great channel, guys. Support him. I lost the chat. Somebody in the chat had mentioned now we're going to get sequels from this era.
30,
Andre,
40, 50 years from now.
Yeah, do you think that it's worth creating a sequel after this from what you've saw?
Absolutely. I think they set it up perfectly. And again, this is what this movie kind of needs to do. It needs to repair the damage of what happened in 2016. So restore the Ghostbusters brand. Yeah. And it has to make people hungry for more, to see these characters again. The new characters, that is, because let's be honest, the legacy characters didn't have that big a role in it, for which I think we can probably blame Bill Murray as per usual. But I think that this movie did its job. If they tomorrow announce a sequel, they keep it at about the same budget as before. They get some of the older guys to come back again for similar roles as now, as mentors and guides and what have you not. They're going to have another hit on their hands. I do believe that. And that should be their goal. Like, Sony needs franchises. And if they're very careful about how to do it, so they don't overexpose it, they don't push it in ways that aren't welcome, there's absolutely things you can do with the Ghostbusters franchise. Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that. Real quick, Glisner, channel member, thank you so much, is the one who asked that question. Thank you, Culture, for finding that. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, Sony's knocked it out of the park with two of them now, between Cobra Kai and this.
Yes, Cobra Kai's so good.
Yeah. So, I mean, as long as you can continue to do things like that, you'll be fine. But otherwise, I think we've kind of reached the end, the peak of that kind of stuff. Because, like, I thought we were going to see a lot more of it after Halloween 2018. Now, granted, we had a whole year that we lost, right? So, I mean, there still could be a few stragglers along the way. We're hearing about a few franchises that are going to keep trying to do this, but the rest from here on out we're looking at the downhill slope now. Like, I think Ghostbusters was the peak. Now, I'm a little disappointed that Andre didn't like it as much as I did, but I mean, this movie reminded me of how shitty movies have been in the last 20 years. Like, right. I said in our review, like, I don't remember having this much fun in a theater since maybe seeing Spider-Man back in the day, like the first time finally seeing Spider-Man for the first time on screen, and it actually being Spider, like, it was just, whoa, like, that's the last time I remember being that excited at a movie theater, and walking out feeling just that feeling of, holy shit, I saw something I never thought I'd see before.
Right.
Kind of thing. And since then, even things like the Avengers feel kind of empty, compared to this. Like this had so much heart, so much soul, and I mean, and again, like the movie rested on Grace McKenna's shoulders, and she deserves all the praise in the world because, you know, she's carrying the movie.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Yeah, she did amazing. So well cast. They did so well with the casting here on everyone across the board.
I totally agree.
Yeah, and if we didn't fall in love with this new cast, this movie was screwed. Right?
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, look at no longer than the sequel trilogy for evidence of that.
Exactly. And we've even seen, you know, some of the revisionist history from sites like Screen Rant and stuff where they're like, Ghostbusters Afterlife is what's The Force Awakens should have been. It's like, yeah, you guys were the same ones who were saying TLJ was the best Star Wars movie ever. But anyway, you know, like you guys, CNN, revisionist history, whatever, God, whatever, you know.
Sebastian Simpson said, I kind of want a Ghost Academy movie, show, or game.
I think that's the best logical move because that's the best way they can set up multiple teams. And that was kind of the plan going into 2016 from what we reported. If I remember right, Andre, I say we, but Andre was there at the time doing all that shit. I came in at the very end of Ghostbusters.
It was originally supposed to be set in the same world as.
Well, no, they wanted Ghost Corps was set up as a production company to where they wanted to do a bunch of spin-off movies. You guys may even recall they announced right around the same time as the 2016 movie was coming out that they had another set for an animated film that was supposed to be a Ghostbuster film. Then they had a Slimer movie they were going to do that was an animated film.
They did. Yeah, they had like
up where the movie left off, and then they also had another live-action Ghostbuster team film set with Chris Pratt and I believe like Seth Rogen and what's his face, the guy who's fat one minute and skinny the next.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, all of those had also been like in talks for earlier versions of the Ghostbusters 3 team, but they kind of like in Hollywood is kind of like once you're in talks for something, you never really drop out of it. It can come back at some point years later. And anyway, after the 2016 movie, their plan was for a Ghostbusters cinematic universe. So it was going to be obviously sequels to the Lady Ghostbusters. It was going to be a different all-male team in a different city to have like a male-centric thing. This is the one that's going to be headlined by Chris Pratt. There was going to be an animated Slimer movie. You will recall that in that movie, for those that saw it, Slimer was joined by this female Slimer, and they took the Ecto-1 and they drove into hell or into the portal or whatever. And this animated movie would follow their adventures there. That was the plan with that. And
then there was a whole nother animated project, I believe.
Yeah, it was a completely different series and everything. So they were really going all in on Ghostbusters. But that of course, rode on the 2016 movie being a success, which it wasn't. And then it all fell down the drain. And I assure you that they have similar plans right now for this. The difference being is that this time there's no Sony leak in which we will know about those plans, but they must exist. They existed last time, so it stands to reason that they do this time. No way they did this just as like a standalone thing, and now we're done with it forever.
Well, before we go to the chat and see what they think, Culture Casino has to head out. He's got a show with Mad. Go ahead, my man.
Yeah, I'm Coast Casino. I got a YouTube channel, Odyssey channel. I'm on Minds. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Twitch. I got a Twitch channel. I'm going to start playing games again starting next week. I have ended up doing great things because of all of you adding more subscribers to my channel this month and more members. Thank you for that as well. We are going to continue to grow, moving forward as quickly as possible so that I can start to transition my life into that of a production manager of sorts. So because the goal is to have a retirement job that is essentially producing independent things. So that's the goal. But
anyway, that Matt, he's transitioning.
Not like that.
Culture Transcino.
Anyway, I love you guys. Please subscribe to all these gentlemen if you don't already, and the young lady who's here as well. And by the way, ladies are welcome. So, you know, the more of you, the better. Come on over. Anyway,
Matt won't let women on the show.
Yeah, well, we've had girls over there before. But anyway, you guys have a great day. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for chatting about some of the funnest things that we have in our life. Because guess what, guys? There are some good things. We just have to go looking for them now. All right. I'll see everybody later. Have a great
See you later,
one.
Culture. Thank
I
you.
gotta
Yeah,
pick
Culture.
them up, guys.
All right, so we're gonna be closing out soon. So before we do, I just want to give the chat a chance to say a few things. Cosmic Fusion says might be a hot take, but I enjoyed Afterlife more.
So
than
did I.
Dune.
So did I. I mean, Dune is probably technically the better film, but again, and like I said this in the review, I rate the film probably an 8 out of 10, but I rated the experience a 10 out of 10.
Exactly, because here's like the thing: Afterlife is an uplifting movie. Dune is a cinematic masterpiece, but it's a downer of a movie.
Yeah, really? Is that what you thought?
Yeah, as in you're not gonna go out of Dune feeling elated like, whoa, that was amazing. Of course you'll say that it was amazing, but you won't feel like, wow, like $1 million after seeing it, right?
Yeah, it was a long draw.
Whoa, that was like a somber thing. I need some time to digest this. I do say that as a fan of Dune, but it's a heavy freaking movie. Whereas Ghostbusters Afterlife, that's a simple, light-hearted, emotional affair.
You know, I like that you feel like $1 million because that was a quote from Ghostbusters 2. This movie literally does spew love, ecto, whatever, slime all over you.
Plasm. Yeah,
it does. It does. It does. After you get done seeing this movie, I mean, there was 40-year-old men crying in the screening I was at and stuff. It was just crazy.
Were you one of them, Tom?
No, I got close. I got close. But I'm one of those guys where when it comes to movies, I know how they're made, so it's really difficult to tug on my heartstrings. And when you got as close as that movie did, that's pushing it, because there's only been a few movies that have ever gotten me pretty close. And that was one of them. Very, very rarely has a movie ever really gotten me, and it has to really hit a chord just right.
Well,
and
I think
did good.
I think one of the things that I did notice, I mean, obviously going out and picking up the toys, reviewing toys, and checking out to see what's coming out, what's moving, because I enjoy toys to this day. I'm a Toys R Us kid. I'm never going to change. But I noticed, like, before the movie ever came out, they had those figures. They were basically being done in like the older style Ghostbusters, from the movies, where they had to build the figures for Zool and all that stuff. And when they did the Afterlife ones as well, they really weren't moving that well at first. After this movie came out, all those figures started flying off the shelves. Even the Ecto ones, and I mean, Tom, I know you've seen those Ecto ones that they made for those figures. Those things were huge and they were expensive. Even they were flying off the shelves.
Guess which one's worth the most right now besides the limited edition Phoebe figure 2-pack?
Go ahead.
Fucking Podcast.
Podcast is awesome.
He is the hardest one to find right now, and his price is the most.
That was a great character. There were moments, Tom, where I was like, oh, I was happy. It definitely made me happy. And we haven't had that in a lot of the films that have been, reboots or, we just haven't had that in a long time. So it was it was a feel-good experience for me. I really enjoyed that film.
It was extremely uplifting.
Yeah. It's like I said, there are a few technical issues, but like Andre said, it matters. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Well, like Cobra Kai, it shows the simplicity of all you have to do. It doesn't have to be perfect, like Andre said.
Right.
Like, I had a few issues with it too, but not nearly as many probably as it sounds like he did. And I know a few others have. But again, it's like that's how all you got to do is like Cobra Kai. Pay attention. Pay homage to the past.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tear the previous characters down to build up your new ones. Find parallels that work, and you'll be fine. Like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, this movie is it has a lot of the similar beats as the first film, but then, like you just said at the front, Steven, it didn't feel like a Ghostbusters movie. It's like, so those two things don't equate.
Mm-hmm.
I think what people are feeling is just that the fact that the movie does feel like it's in the Ghostbuster family, right? Like, even it's kind of like Cobra Kai. Like, even though Cobra Kai is its own thing, it's in the Karate Kid family. It is definitely not Karate Kid, though. It takes a completely different, focal point, just like this movie. Like, this movie is no longer from the focal point of our main characters we're used to seeing. Now, hopefully they'll pop up more in the future, but like again, like this was exactly what it needed to be, like Andre said. And if they, and some people are like, oh, I wanted more of these characters or so on, not to get into too many spoilers, but it's like, I feel like if you'd have done that, it almost would have cheapened the experience. I feel like it was done just about the way you had to do it. And I went into several reasons on Nina Infinity's review with it, because her and I went back and forth on the movie quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, I broke down quite a bit of things as far as how I feel like, certain people are going to relate to this film and certain people aren't. But this movie is doing exactly what the woke agenda has been trying to do all this time, and it did it without being woke. It was naturally diverse. It had real characters that you're invested in, you relate to in one way or the other. Even if you may not be a 10-year-old or 12-year-old, whatever Phoebe's supposed to be, you can relate to being that character when you were younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's certain, especially if you're a nerd.
You're a nerdy kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was perfect. I think that was the perfect way to present the lead. I mean, considering the age group and the story.
Right, and I brought up at one point to just kind of finish it up was like, with Phoebe, like people are like, oh, I'm sick of the kids. It was Stranger Things. I'm like, no, I didn't get the Stranger Things vibe.
No.
But what I did realize is age appropriately at this point. If Egon had a kid after 2, he's obviously going to have a grandkid by now. And another thing is some people are like, oh, they should have been older or whatever. I'm like, no, they kind of point out with Trevor. Trevor doesn't really have any interest in learning who his grandfather is. He's kind of beyond that, right? Like, Granted, at some point, I'm sure he'll ask some questions and he wants to know certain things. But unlike Phoebe, who's younger, to where like that's something that's a part of her life. And not only that, once she finds out who he is, right? Like that's what's important to her too as well. And I think that's what plays into this, because having a son, him and I don't relate in a lot of things, but him and my dad are like 2 peas in a pod, right?
Exactly, and that's like the thing. Sometimes it skips a generation where like the child may be very little like its parent, but a clone of the grandparent in terms of interest or looks or some kind of other feature. And I like that they did that, because you actually, I just see that in my own life and around me and so many places, that the sometimes when like a parent forces a child to do what they did, it doesn't work out, because that child is more like the grandparent than the actual parent.
Yeah, that's why they say a lot of things skip a generation. That's true.
It is true. Yeah. Glistener, thank you very much for $2. Channel member, appreciate you, man. Thanks for keeping the lights on. Disappointed the Frighteners never got a sequel.
Yeah.
I love the Frighteners.
Well, if anything, the Frighteners shows that maybe Peter Jackson's got a Ghostbusters movie in him, and that's the thing. Ivan Reitman said is Jason Reitman said is he wants to see other directors take on Ghostbusters. So I think that's his way of saying, I'm done. I've done mine. I put my voice to this. Now it's time to let others expand this world, right? So like I think guys like that's what I'm kind of excited about, is thinking like all these people who could take on a Ghostbusters film, like Peter Jackson or somebody else who has that, kind of perfect like way of looking at this. I'm like Paul Feig, like, because there's a tons of directors. Trying to think of the guy, Edgar Wright would be another guy I would love to see do a Ghostbusters movie, or even James Gunn for that matter.
There's a person associated with Ghostbusters who said something incredibly wise, and that was, it doesn't matter who is producing if the director is wrong.
Right.
You know who that person was?
No.
That was Amy Pascal.
I was just going to say that.
He was the one who hired Paul Feig, because she didn't think Ivan Reitman can do it. Her logic was sound. It's just the execution of it left some to be desired.
Yeah.
But as far as the Frighteners go, yeah, too bad that movie didn't do better than it did. And I don't know if it would ever got a sequel anyway. Here's a bit of trivia for that movie that most people don't know. That was meant to be the third Tales from the Crypt film.
What?
Yep. That's why it's produced by all the same people who produced Tales from the Crypt. But at the last minute they changed their minds because Bordello of Blood didn't play as well. So they shit canned all the wraparounds with the Crypt Keeper. Yeah, and that's why it's chock full of movie stars.
Wow. Oh, I never knew that, dude.
Yeah, it was meant to be Tales from the Crypt 3. Yeah.
God damn. Dune is the better film. Afterlife is a movie you can enjoy.
Yes.
That's a very good summary. Very good summary. Here's like the thing. There's loads of movies that are great movies, and you leave them feeling so down and so depressed.
Sebastian says Dune was dry as sandpaper.
It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea.
You're not wrong.
That.
Naked Fame says dower is the word Andre is looking for.
Yes, dower is a good word.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. I do believe it's with a U instead of a W, though. But in any event, yes, that's exactly what Dune is. It's
actually, I'm not 100% sure, Andre. I've looked for the spelling of that word. I can never find it. I know the word because I've tried using it.
Yeah, for maybe it is with a W. Maybe I'm just like imagining. Yeah, no, it is.
I think it is with a W.
Yeah, I've always done it wrong in my head. Then, anyway, never mind.
Free speech same word. Says I didn't really feel anything from Dune. Afterlife was a happy, good time.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it hits the emotional strings in a different way. Dune is an intellectual movie. Afterlife is an emotional movie. One intended to be uplifting.
No, you were right, Andre. It's with a U.
It's with a U? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Oh, I never would have thought there was a U in there.
DOUR.
Yeah, that's what I imagined that it had to be.
Afterlife is actually what people want in a modern reboot calls.
Yes,
it was well done. Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
I always second guess spelling. That's my problem.
Naked Fame says that men should cry in the bathroom. Wookie says go home and cry in the shower like a real man. Yeah, thank you guys.
Men are only allowed to cry twice.
Any last thoughts on Ghostbusters, gentlemen, before we close out?
It's great.
Go see it if you haven't.
I have not seen it yet, but I want to, and everything I'm hearing about it, I think we need more of that. Like we need more of those feel-good movies. Movies that make you feel like there's hope. After you see it, because everything's been so dark, and like even a lot of the superhero movies have been, like DC in particular, it's just been dark and dreary. And we need more of that hope. We need more of that good stuff. Like I enjoy a cool dark hero, but we need those larger than life, out for everyone but themselves heroes too. We need that.
Absolutely. They're assassinating the idea of the hero of
selflessness.
Yeah, selflessness. Yeah, sacrifice, saving people, just basic goodness, and it's a shame to see. Like that's our modern myths are there to inspire.
Well, and boys are losing a lot of their, their role models, and that's one thing I loved about this movie is nearly every single male in the film was a positive male role model, and even when you thought they were tearing down one of our heroes, in the end you realize that's not the case. So again, the only male that's really a piece of shit is one we've never met, is never on screen, is only talked about maybe twice, 3 times, and basically we're just getting one side of the story, so we don't even know that entire situation. So and the mother character is one of those where you just don't know. So because that's what I loved about this mother character too, is that she is not the perfect single mother.
Here's
she's the exact opposite.
Yeah. Here's the thing that she's someone with daddy issues. So she might very well have gone with someone that wasn't ready to be a dad himself and could easily have contributed to that situation because of her own unresolved issues. See, that's one of the things in the subtext. Just why the emotional release and true healing of the film is her embracing her late father and the redemption that is for her. In a sense, that is her letting go of her traumas that have obviously messed up her life, since she can't do numbers or anything like that. That's not just it skipping a generation. That's her trauma. That's her rejection of feeling that my father didn't want me. I mean, everything is going to go better for her now when she knows that's not true. When she knows that there was a reason he didn't want to. He didn't want to leave her. He did a sacrifice for all of humanity. Because if he hadn't, she would go down the drain anyway. when this inevitably
Everything would
happened.
have.
Yeah, exactly. So he did what he had to do. Granted, he probably could have done a better way about it, but hey, he's not the most sociable guy, so he did what he what he knew he had to when he failed to convince.
And she's more than just slightly flawed, Rob Altus. She's actually to the point where I think the kids pointed out at least 2 or 3 times in the film. I mean, she's not a shitty mother, but she's not a very good one.
Yeah, no, not in any way, shape, or form. I mean,
she's a deadbeat, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's a deeply flawed person. She loves her kids, but she could have made better choices. But again, you kind of get why, because she is someone traumatized for being rejected by the father. We don't know who the was the one who did the racing after that. We don't know. We don't know what kind of start she got in life or anything. What we do know is that things will probably get better for her now after getting that much needed redemption.
Right, and you're right like that, because like the whole point is like we don't know who the person is that you know is the parent of the other parent of the children, but what we do know is that he clearly is probably the exact opposite of her father.
Yes.
And that's the thing is when she meets Paul Rudd, at first she's a bit resistant, but he starts bringing out the better qualities in her, but she resists him because she reminds him of her dad. Like she even makes that point.
Again, that's like the unresolved daddy issues in a way. And you see that more like as she gets like acceptance, that's kind of like more of what she wants.
No, but she's like one step away from that Nano Reaper. Like she's probably considered it. Like that's what I mean. Like they don't even make it like she's like, you know, like they don't even like it like this whole like, oh, poor her, she's making these. No, she's a fucking deadbeat. She don't have a job. She has no real ambition to get a job. The first thing and this isn't too much spoiler.
If she had been spinning around the pole, she probably would have been doing better for the kids.
That's the point.
I mean, because that would only go to. I mean, don't diss mothers who do that, because most of them probably don't want to, but they need the money and they are willing to do what it takes to get it to make sure that their children get it better than they did, and don't judge them for that. They do what they have to do.
Yeah, and I just love how it wasn't, you know, candy coated, right? Like that's the best part about it. She is technically a deadbeat. She doesn't have a job. I mean, and not getting into spoilers, but this is the first 5 minutes of the movie. I mean, she's letting her kid fucking rewire and fix shit in the apartment and probably going to burn the apartment down.
She's basically one of the kids. I mean, like
exactly.
The youngest child is in some ways already the parent. And this is something, and this is actually something that really happens out there in real life. Like when there's like a one parent household and that one parent ain't up for the job. If one of the kids have the mental faculties for it, they're going to grow up real freaking fast and very quickly out-mature that parent.
Actually, both of them do.
5, 6.
Actually, both of them do, because she relies on Phoebe to fix everything around the house. And what's the first thing that happens when they get to town? Like, Trevor goes and gets a job.
Yeah, so it's his son, and he's underage, and he's the one that goes get a job.
True, he's kind of motivated by pussy, but
I'm sure
it's age appropriate, right? Like, what were you doing at that age? I got a job because I wanted to take women out on dates, right? Like that's the whole it's intense.
There is no greater motivator. I mean, the entire of modern civilization is.
It was refreshing to see a male actually lusting after.
Right, and not portrayed as just.
And there was nothing wrong with it. It was. It's just like that is. It was exactly the movie it needed to be.
Now, sadly, she got kind of the shaft character-wise. I mean, but still, point being, like overall, though, it was really refreshing to see all these things, and you know, like they both tell her a couple. Like the only thing she isn't is like an alcoholic at this point, and that's even kind of like I don't know. She might be. They're just kind of hiding it.
Well, yeah, there might be. I
thought that she was quite a lot like semi-passed out on the couch.
I was gonna say they kind of insinuated.
One more comment from the chat, and Free Speech Gaming says something that Afterlife needed was a Life Goes On style falling action. Would have put a nice bow on the package. Sure. I mean,
I'm not sure what he means by that exactly. Like, you mean life goes on style falling action?
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Sorry. As far as like the action of the film, like I will agree that like it's a very concentrated character piece until about what
the kind of
the way in.
the kind of like the point of it is that if Gozer gets its way, life doesn't go on. That's what Aegon had to do, the sacrifice, because no one's life would go on if he didn't do what he had to do.
Well, my point is that as far as like action, it's a good 40-45 minutes before any real action scenes happen.
A lot of building. A lot of building before then. Thank you guys so much for being here. Before we head out, I want to give Gaze a chance to talk about Sunsworn Wings of Vengeance, something I just got in the mail recently. Go ahead, Gaze.
Yeah. How'd you enjoy that?
I love it. I love
heading into the big closeout, right, Red?
Oh yeah, yeah, we absolutely are. Actually,
did you already read the story?
Well, I think that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it cut out.
Steven, did you already read the story?
Yeah, I've already read through it. Absolutely.
Precious character built in it.
Yes, thank you very much for that.
Thank you. Yeah, we are heading into the closeout here. I recently updated the campaign to put the limited amounts that we have left because we only have so many left. But this is a story that takes place. Sunsworn was originally conceived as a series of novels and still is. But since I wrote the first book, I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of people that could really help me translate this into a comic. And Miriam is one of those people, and she did an amazing job just fleshing out all these characters, making this story rock. I don't think you really even need the dialogue to understand what's going on, and that's kind of the whole point of a comic like this. But yeah, this takes place in between the first and second novels. It's a standalone story. Chris Fisk, who is in the chat, also a good man with an awesome campaign himself, with Infinitales, said this is an excellent starting point to jump onto Sunsworn if you haven't done so already. And that was kind of the intention. Put a bit of a summary at the beginning to introduce new people to the universe, to the characters, to what's going on, and apparently it worked. So thank you for that feedback, Chris. I appreciate that. But yeah, this is full-on space fantasy. I'm all about it. I've always been more of a space opera type of guy. I love sci-fi, I love fantasy, but when they mesh together, that's the sweet spot for me. So forget He-Man in space. Get yourself.
Looks like they stole Savage He-Man from you.
Yeah, well, he's not quite as savage. This is Astro.
He was in the original comics that way, but yes, yeah,
he's a little more refined. But yeah, man. If you're into space fantasy adventure, this is absolutely what we're doing here. We're doing a lot of cool stuff with Bloodbond books in the future. Of course, Bonds is a part of that as well with Miriam. Bonds 2 is on its way. Unfortunately, Bonds is not available right now, but it will be again shortly when the next campaign launches. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. This was conceived it started as a role-playing universe that I created for my players. And it took me like 15 years to actually get off my butt and do something about it and make it into something else.
What was the catalyst, Red, for you eventually writing this?
Oh, I think you know the catalyst. I started writing this before The Last Jedi, but I was kind of lazy. I was kind of lackadaisical about it. Just went about my business, and every once in a while I'd write a little more. But then The Last Jedi happened, and it crushed my soul because Star Wars was like my franchise. That was my thing. And man, like The Force Awakens, I could forgive so much, but that Last Jedi, just soul crushing, absolutely soul crushing. And it wasn't even so much the movie itself that did it to me. It was all these idiots, that would constantly come out and say, well, if you don't like it, why don't you write something better? And yet you can only hear that so many times before you say, okay, challenge accepted. Here you go. So that's what I did with Sunsworn, and that's what got the first novel off the ground. The second novel is in production. So awesome.
Red, I'm kind of curious since we already had the Walton character in there. When are we going to see Sunsworn Gnomes of Retribution? Is that going to happen?
That's probably not ever going to be a thing, but I'll take it into consideration. Yeah,
Oh,
there's
we
a few.
pretty much like implemented the gnome into the comic. Everybody knows that the Walton, we needed his actual height for this comic. So if you list through it, you can
Messed up,
notice
Kate.
that he's like 3 feet. And
Thought you were my friend, Kate.
oh, come on! I was waiting patiently yesterday for you till you climbed your chair.
That's terrible.
Yeah, Walton and Culture were both kind enough to contribute to the one of the drawn-in tiers. So yeah, they made it into the book, and very very proud to have them in the book because they're both great friends, great people, and I think honestly their characters kind of took on a life of their own in this. It's interesting to see how things evolve. But yeah, man, this is what we're doing. We're just making great stories. No messaging, no political motivation, none of that. The only politics you're going to get out of this is politics happening in that universe, which has nothing to do with Donald Trump or Joe Biden. So
nice.
Yeah, we're not into that crap. Even even some of the modern stories that we plan to tell, it has nothing to do with that. Like no politics. Just get it out of here. We don't want it. We want this is one of those positive stories that I think with feel good heroes, that'll hopefully inspire people to want to better themselves and just be the good guy. That's what we need. We need more good guys.
Absolutely.
I need to pause you because there's this beautiful story that comes as an idea from Pale Rider in the chat. I think we should implement it into the Bloodbonds, the druid and the dryad.
Oh Lord.
We need to make this into a story.
That could be its own book.
Yep.
Red Gaze does a show on Thursdays, just like Tommy does, and it's called Rogues Gallery. He promotes independent books. Gaze, real quick before we finish out, what is the importance in supporting independent creators in your opinion?
I think it's extremely important. Just because like I said, this is the future. I mean, of the future of good entertainment. If you're content with what you're getting from the mainstream, more power to you. But I don't see that as viable for people like us who actually want to consume something of value. Something that does pull on your emotions. Something characters you can relate to, characters you can admire, that inspire you, and there's epic stories of just good versus evil that we just don't get anymore. It's not, everything isn't always gray. Everything isn't always black and white either. But there's a certain point where you can mix the two together, and that's the whole point. Like some characters are gray, right? Some characters are black and white. And that's what we're missing because we're kind of only getting one or the other. Sunsworn, that's not what I do at all. There's a lot of characters that have various motivations, various reasons for doing what they're doing. Some want to help, some want to take advantage. Some are just straight up evil pricks. Some are just straight up, good guys that want to do the right thing. And that's it, man. That's it. I just
I think Red, like even some of the characters in there, if you don't aspire to be like them, or you can't feel like you could see yourself in them. I think that they're different enough, and they're not washed out like a lot of the stuff that you're seeing in the mainstream media, because they wash out their characteristics so bad that they don't even seem like they're like legitimately a character at that point. It just seems like they're an automaton sitting on the pages of these books.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You do get a lot of robotic characters these days. And that's something I'm striving to do. So that's why everybody who gets it, like, I want to hear your feedback. I want to hear what you think. Let me know if something seems off to you, because these are things that I want to know as a creator going forward, so we can improve it.
Oh, that's what you mean. I was like, for a while I was thinking like robotic characters, like a robot. No, I'm not drawing that.
Katie hates to draw anything sci-fi. She really hates starships.
Hate it. It's
she hates armor.
Why are you making me hate armor?
But see, as Johnny Cage likes to point out, she's very good at it. She just thinks she isn't. So yeah, definitely give her feedback as well, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be positive. Because I got to tell you, I would have never dreamed this comic would have came out as well as it did, and that is all thanks to Katie.
It's the collaboration of independent creators in this community, and everybody that works with one another, the cross promotion, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I've enjoyed watching it grow over the last 3 years. Guys, please support Sunsworn. It's a great book. I've read it. It's beautiful. And support Katie's campaign when Bonds 2 comes out. I've got her book too. It's a beautiful book. And support your independent creators out there. Please. We don't have an industry to support us. We only have each other. We rise together. Thank you, Red. Appreciate that. And
thank you for the time.
Yeah, man. I want to thank Tom and Andre, Midnight's Edge, a channel that I've been following forever. And you guys have been friends of mine for a few years now. I've enjoyed watching your content. I've enjoyed watching your growth. The teams that you've put together, great people. It's been an inspiration to me. And I really appreciate you guys coming today.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for having us. And it's been a pleasure to be here. And I'm sorry it had to take so long.
It's all good. Hey, what's hard to, you're in Europe, so it's difficult to line up times, but I'm glad that we could find the time to do this today. And Tom, what can I say about you, Tom? Been my friend for so long. You help so many people in this community. You are a person who lives that that kind of we rise together idea. You're always hanging out, promoting people. Doesn't matter what size channel they are. You're one of the best people in this community, and I'll always support you, Tom. Thank you so much. And thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you're welcome, Stephen Walton, and I thank you very much for having me today.
I was hoping Bat Tom would show up out of nowhere. All right, so let's go around.
He didn't have time.
You just have to drop out for 1 second, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I've got him trapped in a closet right now. Tom can't come out and play.
That's actually more than perfect, Andre. He wouldn't have liked anything. He would have said, "Okay."
No, but actually, I think it's cool because Tom doesn't get enough credit for that, for being out there, for helping so many get started.
Yes, he has never cared whether it was how many subs you have. And he'll talk to you. He'll come hang out on a live stream. He has no problem bringing what presence he has to any live stream, and he's always funny and has informative
and extremely informed about any topic.
Guys, I could see that. Like you were going like dropping information. I was like, oh my god, I haven't seen this. I don't know what to say.
Well, I was interested to see how Tommy and Vinny were going to interact with you guys, and I was really pleased. It was a really good conversation.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. I am sorry I had to drop out there because of something behind here, but that was very interesting to hear his perspective. I know a lot of what's going on behind the scenes there, but it was very interesting to hear his point of view on it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we got great people in this community, inspired by those that came before us, like you, Andre, like Tom. Thank you guys so much for everything you do and everything you continue to do. And I wish you the best.
Thanks for grandfathering us into the stream.
Yeah, no problem. Let's go through and say goodbye to everyone. Ladies first. Katie, go ahead and tell them what you got going on.
Right now I'm just getting ready, to start working on Bonds 2. The thumbnails are done, so what I'm gonna do is start redoing them into form of sketchy pencils, and just start working on the pages as we go, along with some art, and some other projects, and also focus on what we have from Bloodbond. We're preparing a book for children. It's gonna be
really?
illustrated book. I'm gonna be illustrating it, so that's another thing I'm really excited about. And yeah, just living life and enjoying it to the fullest. So yeah, that's it.
Well, I can't wait to see what you got coming down the pipe. Thank you for everything you do for us, and I appreciate you, Katie. You're a great artist and a wonderful person. And I can't say nothing bad about you, unless you're making fun of me, and then I'm disappointed. My heart
and
breaks.
I will never stop doing that.
I know. I'm just gonna have to deal with the punishment. For Red Gaze, tell them what you got going on, brother.
Yeah, man, same deal pretty much. We're really putting a lot into Bloodbond books and everything we got coming in the future. This year you can look forward to Bonds 2. You can look forward to Sunsworn, the novel, part 2. It's called March of the Dominion. And you can also look forward to Vivid. That's a children's book that Katie was referring to. Yeah, man, it's been a great ride. That's what we're up to. And trying to ramp up the channel a little bit. definitely trying to ramp up the promotion for independent creators on Thursdays at 6 o'clock. We got Rogues Gallery on there. We just try to find creators who are looking to, get out there, break in, and tell their story to the world. And we love showcasing them and just letting everybody know these people exist, because like I said, this is our future for quality entertainment.
And there's a lot of great artists and creators and campaigns out there that aren't getting enough attention. And I'm glad that you're doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've been doing that for a long time. But it's really important, because a lot of people don't have a platform, don't have a voice, but they got stories to tell. And we're happy to showcase them and let them talk about it.
Thank you, brother. And finally, Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective. Let them know what you got going on, sir.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? Tommy and the Guinea Pig Collective. If you open up your refrigerator door and you notice all your lettuce and carrots are gone, and you follow the guinea pig beans all the way back to my channel, you'll know what we're up to, where we talk about old toys, retro toys being done right, and, of course, old movies. And, of course, Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we have Going Old School Retro Discussions, where we have a panel of people that get together and we talk about those things that we love from the past so much. And of course, at 7:45, following up Red Gaze and Rogue Gallery, we have Rogue Entertainment presents Collectable Past, where Vinny and I get together and we basically just talk about older toys and the retro toys that we love so much and that we've reviewed. This is one of those things I think is really important, because we gotta remember those things that we love from the past so much, because you can't really sit there and fight a war against shit that you don't like when you can't even remember what it is that you're fighting for. And I think being able to bring up these memories for everybody and say, yeah, I love that. I love the way it was done. I don't like the way this is done, because this does not hold anything for me anymore. It's very important that we always take that trip down memory lane to remember what it is that we love so much. So remember, never let anybody tell you what you can and can't say, what you should or should not watch, because your silence gives consent. And then you might find yourself in the woods somewhere where Walton doing some strange things.
You just couldn't help yourself, Tom.
No, I couldn't.
You couldn't. It's like,
yeah, and you can choose to watch that or not.
Thank you guys so much for being here today. Hail to everybody in the chat, everybody who stopped through, and anybody watching this later. I really appreciate you. There are people in this fellowship that I began watching that were inspirations to me, and I'm glad to be able to showcase some of them over the last month and in the coming months. It's a big deal to me to show reverence for those who kind of led the way for what I do. Thank you guys so much. Please remember to support your independent creators out there. Check out Shadow the Kraken. Check out Sunsworn. Keep an eye out for Bonds 2. And any independent creator out there that you enjoy or you potentially might want to buy, share a link out, because that really does mean a lot to everybody in the community. And your 2 or 3 favorite YouTubers, please remember to share out links for their channels, because we don't have an industry to support us. We only have each other, and we rise together. I am author Stephen Walton, the Fandom Menace historian. Remember to be good to each other. Wash your hands and wash your ass. Peace.
When you're born in this world, you're given a ticket to the freak show. And when you're born in America, you're given a front row seat